reasons to doubt, try to keep me down, but I'll put the flame out. You can't get to me. Throw your sticks and your stones, go break all of my bones. You won't ache my soul, you can't get to me. And there is no barricade that I can tear away. Shoot me down, go fire away, away. But I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight. I'm a push me down to the ground. What goes around comes around. You won't put the flame out, you can't get to me. Say what you wanna say, go take it all away, but I'm here to stay. No, you can't get to me. And there is no barricade that I can tear away. Shoot me down, go fire away, away. But I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome. It is I, Paper Thin, along Elfish Guy, who has been kind enough to drive his Dacia over to our Scrims today. My friend Jordan, how are you?
Yeah, look, it wasn't an easy drive. I had to, brave the ocean that is between Australia and Korea, but we've managed to make it. The Dacia is still in one piece, at least for now. A little bit wet, but we're doing okay. So yeah, I mean, look, yeah, I'm kind of keen to see what we've got. I haven't been able to catch too many of the scrims, so for me, this is kind of a little bit about just seeing what's been going on for a lot of these teams, how they're going to be looking coming into PGC, and I guess getting a bit of an idea of what's the go, because obviously a lot of the teams are really, really good, and we're now starting to get a bit of a better idea, I guess, of where some of maybe these rank decision matches are going to play out, because we're going into these sort of like groups matches, and that's pretty cool. That's interesting for me, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to sort of just seeing basically what's up.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, there's a lot of kind of just... I think one of the things that we're going to get out of this is just who's hot dropping where, like, what are the drop spots going to look like, those kind of things. Just a reminder, guys, there is a 5-minute delay here, so anything you guys put in the chat, Jordan and I, you'll hear us respond 5 minutes later. So, and I'll try to, get to all the subs and everything. Just be aware that, if you're kind enough to sub or anything like that, there will be a delay between when I'm able to thank you. So just be patient with all of that. That's part of the whole scrim rules. Jordan, can you see the game okay? I just want to make sure.
I can, yeah.
All right, fantastic. Let me get all the stuff set up so we have everything ready to go. So it's 2 Erangels, 3 Miramars. I went for, the lobby that had a few more APAC teams here, with groups A and D being what we're mostly going to see. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting, I think, to get an idea of, like, what these teams are doing. I mean, I know... So, for example, Jordan, Pero, the team from China, has been... How do I put this? Not taking it seriously. They've been...
Okay.
Let me transition over to the game real quick, but then they've been... they've been on Miramar, so... Oath was expecting them to hot drop them, but Pero just dropped on like all corner, like one player on each corner of the map, and they're not really showing anything. So it's kind of interesting to see, like,
That's weird.
yeah, how the teams.
Don't you think
are
that's weird?
this.
Like,
oh, it's very weird.
Is it like at that point, like, what's the point of scrimming? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, if you're just gonna drop all over the map, why even bothering to play? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit too serious about it. But I feel like, particularly if you're a team that could actually be a real shot at actually winning the whole thing. I mean, you maybe make the argument that like you say, that they don't want to give anything away or whatever, but like, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of redundant,
Yeah.
to even arrive. Like, you may as well just go and play some pubs, and you probably get better practice than if you're just going to rock up and run around as solos. But anyway.
Right. I mean, it's my best guess is I've seen teams do it before in Asia scrims. And the reason that I was given when I asked about it was that they were either trying something crazy out just to see if it worked, or that they were trying to get, like, really specific information on certain teams and how they were maneuvering. And, of course, like, a lot of people are like, well, you could just look at Twire to see what they're doing. And I don't know. Like, my response to that was, I don't even know if Pero has access to Twire in China because of the firewall, like the Chinese firewall. So, look, there's... Who the heck knows what's going on? I don't know. I think one quick thing I want to address here before we really get into it is there are a couple teams in this lobby that are just kind of filling in for some of the teams that couldn't make it. So you have ZX, which is a Korean like B-tier team. There's 9, which is also a Korean B-tier beer team. Well, they might be a beer team as well, but B-tier team. And who is the other one? SNGE.
SNGE and NIF as well.
Yeah, NIF. That's it. Yeah, NIF. That was it. I think MTech's in this lobby. For those of you that watch PWS, you'll know MTech is a Novo dropping team, but they have poor Algin all on his own here. I want to talk to you a little bit. Like, I picked this lobby because we have a lot of the APAC teams in here today. And what do you think? What do you make of Archangel Predator? Like, this is a team that really intrigues me because they've been around for a while. A lot of these players have been doing it for a while. What's your read on them?
Yeah, look, I don't know. I mean, they're a little bit of an interesting one. I don't know how they're going to go internationally, and I think based on the scrims that I've been watching, like again, I said I haven't really watched a huge amount of the scrims so far, but the ones that I've seen where Archangel Predator is fighting early on in the piece, in fact, actually for the majority of the APAC teams when they've been sort of getting hot dropped, I've kind of been seeing them get blasted. So I'm starting to temper my expectations a little bit for the APAC teams, unfortunately. But look, for Archangel Predator in particular, I don't know. I feel like they're a team that's kind of gotten better and better over the course of like the PCS ecosystem. You know, I mean, they didn't really arrive on the scene so much until PCS 3, so it sort of took them a little while to sort of get involved. And from there, they've just gone, you know, one step better every single season. So I think that they're definitely a team that is at the top of the APAC region at the moment. Like, I think they definitely deserve to be here. If I would have had to have chosen, you know, my, what was it, like five or 16th or whatever that came through from the APAC region, they would have definitely been one of the teams. So I'm kind of happy to see them here. But, you know, as far as what they're going to be able to do in an international setting, I don't really have a huge amount of faith, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a team that, like, I like what you're saying, because I think the first time I really remember them was a couple years ago when I was doing some of the Predator League stuff. And I thought, okay, these guys, not bad. Oh, CJ just gets roasted there, though. But, yeah, it seems like they're not quite fully prepared for the big stages yet. I mean, they've been getting better, but I don't know that they're ready.
I mean, I think that's to be expected, though. Like, for the vast majority of teams in the APAC region, I think we're probably going to be saying something to the same extent, you know? I mean, for quite a lot of them, you know, they didn't play at PGIS. Actually, the only two that are coming back again are Booram and Attack All Around. You know, so as far as I'm concerned, I think a lot of these players are quite fresh on the international stage. You know, even looking at Fury, for example, who aren't in this lobby, but, you know, ideally would be. They're actually in Group A, so... I mean, I guess just to touch on that, we're missing Fury and BBL from A and Oath and Sonics from the D group. That's the teams that are getting replaced tonight. But I mean, even as far as Fury is concerned, you know, they are a team that, like, if you look at their experience as a roster and how long they've been together, that's gone back years and years and years. But as a core, like, they actually haven't attended an international event together. Flood was at PGC 2019, but that was with Atletico, and then you have to go back pretty far to see Insight, Waikiki Mukau, and Ronan getting a bit of a run.
Right.
You know, they weren't at PGIS either, obviously, because of that whole thing. So it'd be interesting to see, you know, how they go and how. I guess for me, like, obviously, I'm particularly interested in the APAC region, and I think that that's obvious, being that I cast that region. But yeah, like, I don't know, like, I feel like it's really hard to get a read on how the APAC region is going to perform, apart from going back to something like PGS and looking at all of the results that those teams had and thinking about the relative strength of the region and saying, well, I mean, Buriram didn't do too well, Attack All Around didn't do too well. Those are the two. Well, Buriram is the best, or was the best team in the APAC ecosystem. And obviously, Attack All Around hasn't had too many changes either. So that's probably in line with the expectation that we might have for them in PGS here. So yeah, like I said, I don't really have a huge amount of faith in the APAC region. I think if anyone's probably going to do it, you know, surely it has to be Fury. I think Buriram's been a little bit disappointing lately. They didn't even manage to make it into PCS 5. Some of their domestic results haven't even been that great. So, I mean, I'm interested to see how things go for them, because it hasn't even looked too fantastic in the scrims. Like, I've been kind of having a look at some of the results more so. Like, I've been keeping up with the scoreboards and whatever's been popping up.
Right.
But I don't know. I haven't really been seeing Buriram like pop off, you know what I mean? Like, they're sort of sitting in the middle of the pack, middle to bottom of the pack of all of the scrim results that I've been looking at. So I don't know if maybe I've just missed something and they have actually been doing well. But from what I've seen so far, yeah, it doesn't look too good.
I'm with you on that, and that worries me. You know, I was when we switched over to like the chicken dinner format, I was worried about Buriram in particular. Like, they were the first team that came to my mind where I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna like affect their confidence, their ability to do what they do best, and that's just be a crazy good aggressive edge team. Super do. I'm pretty sure that's Ling do, actually, in case people at home are curious. That's my assumption. But Buriram has been, yeah, definitely disappointing. I mean, you could still see the glimmers of just the mechanically gifted squad that they are, but I still have concerns about their ability to function as a team, like, strategically.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's really interesting. Like, that fall from grace for Buriram in particular was quite quite a surprise. You know, we all sort of thought they would come back for PCS 5 and try to defend their title. It was going to be the whole Fury versus Buriram argument or discussion and race even, but then it didn't even end up being them. So, you know, I mean, I guess while we're watching Game Home, maybe they're a good team to touch on as well. Like, I feel a bit bad for Game Home, right? They qualify through and they deserve to be there or whatever, but like things have just gone so horribly wrong for them in terms of the players that they could have brought, you know, both Corey's and Godnew being unable to attend. So it sort of goes for bad to worse. Like the further down the list you go, as far as the APAC teams are concerned, you know, you might say, okay, Fury, Archangel, Predator, Buriram, we think might do something. Attack all around, they could be okay. I mean, obviously there's BN United as well. We have to mention, maybe we'll talk about them a bit later on. But for Game Home, all bets are off. Like, this is a team literally with 2 substitutes. And it's not even, like, the strongest team in the APAC region. Like, they're a team that, like, domestically speaking, they'll perform well. But when they come to even the continental events, sometimes you just look at it and go, okay, well, that wasn't exactly what we wanted. So, yeah, I think, again, they're probably a bit of a... Like, it's not even fair to say they're a dark horse, you know. They're more of an outside chance than anything else. And... yeah, again, you're sort of seeing it. Like, every single time an APAC team fights someone in a scrim, they're getting absolutely blasted. So, well, not every APAC team, and not every time either, by the way. I just want to put that caveat out there. But for the most part, you know, I'm looking at the APAC teams, and I'm seeing them really struggle in a lot of these scrims. So, it doesn't fill me with a huge amount of confidence. And I sort of keep going back to that, I know. But maybe I'm just trying to, like reverse bias myself, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to set myself up with some really low expectations, and some APAC teams are going to come out on day one of PGC and absolutely pop off. Fuck yeah, APAC team, whatever. But at this point, yeah, definitely struggles.
Okay, so one player I do have to say, they got ran over as I was trying to like navigate the fucking observer system. Sylphie has actually been really, really good for Game Home. Like, he has been like, he 1v4 Navi the other day, and that is no easy feat. And so I mean, I'm with you, dude, that I don't have, if I'm being perfectly honest, huge expectations for the APAC region.
Yeah.
I think Fury's probably like their game probably transitions the best globally, right? In my opinion.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And so I think they're the ones that I have my eyes on as being like a team that will be in the grand finals. And I don't think they're going to win, but I think they'll have a decent showing.
Yeah, I mean, that they definitely have an interesting moment there for Penta. But anyway, yeah, I think Fury probably has one of the smarter play styles in a way, or at least they seem to be a team that tends to think about the game a little bit more. They're not the team that's just going to kind of send it at you unless they really are forced to, or they see an opportunity. I mean, the only other one to maybe mention, like, I mean, the only other team that we haven't talked about from the APAC region, if we're going to go down the list, I suppose, is BN United. And like for me, I don't know, like BN United, I know they're not in this lobby, but they were sort of a weird one where I thought they got really lucky in PCS 4 with a lot of the circle shifts, and obviously it being the chicken dinner format, they got a couple of wins here and there, and that ended up ultimately pushing them through to a 3rd place overall. But then they won PCS 5, so I don't know if I just had a really bad read and they're actually just a lot smarter than I gave them credit for. But you know, if they're going to be another team that represents the APAC region, the fact that they've had 2 really pretty consistent results in recent history in PCS 4 and 5, I don't know, maybe like they're a team that I continue to underrate, and maybe I continue to do that as we head into PGC. I don't know.
This has always been my struggle with these big global events like this is there's always going to be like one team from each region that shocks you. Like when you have 5 or 6 teams, there's gonna be like BN United or Buriram or Fury who comes out and like performs really, really well and you know gives the region something to hope for. But yeah, I think overall, I think APAC is of like the 4 big PCS regions. I think they're maybe the weakest, and I don't mean that to be like, you know, I'm not trying to like be mean to the players or anything, but I think there's so much depth in Korea and China and Asia, and NA is proven to be extremely talented. And we know EU, of course, is just like all the EU teams here that are just absolutely friggin' nuts. So, you know, APAC has some big question marks in my mind.
I agree. Like, I think a lot of the time as well with APAC, you kind of come into that final lobby and you think, well, there's probably 4 or 5 teams here that like you don't even expect really to do anything. Like, yeah, maybe they get a cheeky top placing here or there, but for the most part, it's evident that they're not really going to compete. And I'm not sure that necessarily translates to across to some of the other regions in the same aspect. You know, like, do you have a full competitive lobby of 16 teams in Korea and China and in Europe and stuff like that? Whereas, again, for APAC, you know, sometimes I feel like there is a bit of a discrepancy between like the top teams, like Booram and Fury and Archangel Predator, whatever.
Yes.
And those teams that are sort of sitting down toward the bottom, maybe 12 to 16 place.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. That's kind of how I felt watching the APAC. I mean, for me, the APAC PCSs were the easiest to watch because your time zone is, you know, basically my time zone. So like,
Yeah,
for me, it was really nice because then, you know, on Thursday and Friday or on the weekends, whichever it happened to be, you know, you guys, I could just watch those instead of. You know, I'd be casting Asia on the weekends, and I found
with Thursday, Friday.
There's a real top-heavy lobby in APAC, right? Like, there's like 4 or 5 teams at every event. I'm like, okay, these are going to be the guys, and then everyone else is just kind of, you know, trying to get through. But a team I will say that has been, we touched on very early, was Archangel Predator. I thought that's a team that I did not expect coming into this year would be at this event. To be completely honest.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I mean, I know they're good. But I didn't know that they were as, like, they kept getting better and better, in my opinion. Like, I thought that they improved a lot over the course of the year. But, again, I guess I saw them a long time ago when I was just very not thrilled with what I saw when I initially saw them. So maybe my expectations were, you know, a little bit tainted by that.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think to an extent the whole APAC region has done a lot of growing since PCS1. Like, I mean, you go back to PCS1 and you think, like, what a shit show that was for the region in terms of just, like, the play style. It was just messy. There was a lot of teams that just ultimately disappeared off the face of the earth, and now you're starting to get a little bit more consistency through from the region, which I think is fantastic. You know, you're not seeing as many roster swaps, and you're seeing the top teams really competing at the top time and time again. So if that kind of ecosystem continues to be a factor coming into 2022, that'll be interesting to see. I actually want to watch this fight. They just got absolutely wrecked. I mean, see, that's what I'm kind of talking about. It's like you see a fight like that and you think, oh no, what's happened there?
Well, they're trying to fend off like a couple different angles, and they're completely disjointed, right? Buriram is not like Edie's out on an island here, and he's able to help, but you know, Canaxi's trying to cover a couple different angles, and you can see it's a little bit of a toughie here. God Meow gets taken down on the side of all this. So to be fair, this is so Songnam Gano Alpha or something is the team of this team. They're like a B-tier Korean team, so they're kind of a wild card in and of themselves. But yeah, this fight didn't look super clean here. NIF, another B-tier Korean team that's in this lobby, just got wiped. So yeah, a few of these kind of teams that we're pulling in to fill in this lobby aren't faring so well. But yeah, Buriram, man, I love Buriram so much. I want to see them do well, but Bart's kicking some ass here. But yeah, they just haven't found consistency.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing about them is, like, I feel inherently they're just never a consistent team. Wow. Great stuff from Liquid, by the way. I actually kind of want to touch on Liquid a little bit because of the storyline surrounding Liquid from PGC 2019 coming into this next one. Like, I remember watching PGC 2019. That for me was when I like really started getting into PUBG a little bit. You know, I had been casting PUBG in 2019. Clean shots from Luke 12. Big fan of him, by the way, as well.
Oh my god. Oh my god. He might just get the 1v4 here, Jordan. Oh, he does it. Oh, he gets some help from Penta. Penta got him, but still.
I actually thought he got it.
Jeez, I thought he did too. Oh my god. Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, if APAC goes to shit, at least we've got Luke 12 and we've got Tingleton as well. They're going to be good prospects, I think. But yeah, for me, Team Liquid, like, going into PGC 19, I know there was a lot of talk around them, and there's been some changes, obviously, since then for the roster and stuff. But I felt like almost this is like kind of a redemption arc for Team Liquid, because they were expected to be a top competitor back at PGC 2019. They got knocked out in like 27th or something like that, and they just got absolutely dumpstered. So I am quite interested to see what people think about Team Liquid and how they're going to come into this iteration of PGC.
I think they're better. I think this is maybe the best iteration of Team Liquid coming into a global event that I can think of in terms of just like the overall quality on this team, just the The numbers they've been putting up, they played very well in the last couple PCSs in Europe. Europe's a very stacked region, so in my opinion, if you got here in Europe, I mean, other than BBL who has their one regional qualifying seed, the rest of it I think is a real slog. I mean, there's so many strong players and teams.
Okay, well, what about this as a question? You know, and I'm not sure if you've had similar discussions with you know, any of the other guys you've been with and whatever, but what do you actually think the top few teams are? PGC coming into this this year.
So I think, man, this is actually going really well for
Let's
GX.
say like three to five teams.
Yeah, I think if I go 5, I think I just go with the teams who've been consistent. Pero, VP, Sonics is like my top 3. I think Gen G is just always going to be there, just because for some reason they played the best at like international stages.
Internationals, yeah.
And that's when they really show up. And you know, after those 4, then I have a few more questions. I think Oath is really damn good. I think a lot of the NA teams and the EU teams and the Chinese teams that are here can get it done. I think any of the Chinese teams are good enough. You know, New Happy, MCG has been really consistent. MCG's not going to blow the doors off you with frags, so that's kind of going to be interesting to see how that transitions into the fact that we're going back to Super Point. But
yeah. Well, I mean, is that going to be the resurgence for someone like Buriram, maybe? You know what I mean? Like that was the format where they really dominated things. Obviously, they won PCS4 in most chicken format as well, but I feel like they got somewhat neutered by that kind of a format. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I fully agree. It was literally when they announced the chicken dinner format, my first thought was, this sucks for Buriram. Like, that was literally my first thought, because they're so good at clearing their edges, and they're such a powerful team in that regard. But yeah, they don't have that kind of survival knack. Does that make sense? That was really nice from Amana there.
Yeah.
But they don't have that knack.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, they're not gonna like, I don't know. I feel like they're not gonna play the slow game. You know what I mean? A lot of the time. Sometimes, I guess if they're getting hard fed, whatever, they'll just sit in their building. That's fine. But like, they're not gonna be a team that just sits around and lets the game play out. They want to be, I think, a fairly active team trying to sort of push the issue. What about Heroic? I mean, Heroic in this lobby. They've been I've been looking again, like I said, at the results of Scrims, and I've been seeing their name up the top quite a bit. So I wonder if, you know, again, like I don't want to take too many, what do I say, too much stock in the Scrims. Like I think, and especially now, still like 2 weeks out from the event, I think there's still a lot of like discussion to be had around whether or not the Scrims are even relevant in terms of a metric. But I feel like they've been doing pretty well based on what I've been seeing. So I wonder if they're like a dark horse or something like that, maybe.
I think dark horse would be where I fit them in to all of this. I think they're another really damn good team that hasn't been consistent in EU. Like they've been very up and down. But when they're up, they're phenomenal. I mean, Paige and T-Bone are just absolutely nuts as fraggers. But they haven't really. They kind of remind me of Buriram a bit, where they're very talented in their fragging, but they're not so consistent with their placements and that kind of thing. But this is, I think for me, I think any team from EU, NA, China really has a good chance. I think those 3 regions in particular. Korea, I don't think is bringing the best of the best other than Gen G. I have concerns about Ghibli, and I mean, I think what's that other team? They changed their name. They used to be Veronica 7. Now they're GLN. Is that right?
Yeah. GNL.
And I don't think they have any hope in hell of really doing much. Mad's solid, and they've looked great in scrims, but like you were just saying, I don't know how much to take into that. He's just dead.
Well, I mean, especially at this stage, you know, like, I think maybe when we start to get closer to the event and all that hype starts to build and teams are really starting to maybe feel the pressure, like maybe a week out, you're starting to see those scrims and you're saying, okay, well, these are the ones that we can sort of take a bit of stock in. But early on in the piece, where teams are still sort of figuring out each other, you know, where do we want to drop? Are we hot dropping? Are we not hot dropping? What are we doing? What's our relative strength in comparison to some of the other teams from other regions? I don't take too much stock. I mean, apart from the fact that APAC as a general region is kind of getting blasted, that is something that I think I can sort of take and run with a little bit. But aside from that, you know, I'm just sort of waiting to see what more we get, like, in about a week's time. That's where I'll start to really hone in on what the scrims are showing us.
Right. I mean, for me, what the scrims tell me is when I watch them, I see like how are the players looking in terms of their like their mechanics, right? Like how accurate are they? Like when are they in their team fights? You know, moving into the right positions, taking good flanks, and those kind of things is really where what I look for in the scrims more than just about anything else. Like TSM right now looking great in this game, right? Like they're hitting some really good shots. You know, they're putting themselves in pretty good positions in their team fights, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is going pretty well for TSM. 11 kills. I know we're not here to necessarily cast the game, but holy shit, they're doing well. Penta, Luke 12. I mean, they're both on the floor, so Elo and Purdy, I guess, have to sort of step up here and try and clutch this one out. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. I think they might have, you know, they've done the classic, like, go a little bit too hard, a little bit too soon, got stuck on the wrong side of the circle, down toward the south where everyone was sort of rotating from, and eventually, you know, just one too many teams has run into them, and you know, you can't ultimately take down every single team. But not a bad run. If you play that game in the first game of PGC, you're probably not too disappointed. You get 12 kills, top 4. I mean, that's sweet.
Yeah. Oh, you'll take that game every day, right? Like in the point system, you'll take a 10+ kill game every day of the week. That is like in my estimation, like a really good game in the super point system is like 7 or 8 points in one game or more, and then beyond that, you're doing good. Like that's everything else beyond that is gravy.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do like a lot of stats and stuff for when we were doing like the local ANZ tournaments, ANZ champs and stuff. I used to like track the whole season and like look at the average amount of points that teams were getting per game. And that was like over the course of like a 50 game season. I can't remember how many. I think it might have been like 48 or something. But it was like if you were getting like 6.5 points a game on average, you were winning the season more or less.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the metric that I put it at. It's like, you know, yeah, like you said, 7 or 8 is like generally a really good game. Obviously, you're going to have outliers where you can get 20 points in a game or something like that, and then there's going to be games where you get 0. But you know, if you're just sort of chugging along, I think like 5 points a game is pretty good. You know, if you're getting a game where you've got 4 or 5 kills, you know, you made it into the top 8, you do that every single game. I mean, you're in a pretty good spot. At least you're in the discussion.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think like that's to me what I like about the super point system is it's like, all right, can you win a team fight? Can you win like a, you know, basically it's like a measurement of can you win a 4v4, and then, you know, beyond that, you know, you get rewarded for the extra progress that you make in the round, whether it be just surviving or also, you know, more frags. So. Because, like, yeah, I love what you're saying. Because, like, you get 5 points. Basically, if you win a team fight, you're going to get 4 or 5 points. So, and that's kind of like what I like about the point system is it gives you a pretty good indicator of how the teams are handling themselves in each individual situation.
This is kind of interesting how this lobby has actually played out. The fact that there's only 2 teams left at, like, I don't even know, was it, like, maybe 23, 24 minutes into the game? It feels like it's disappeared really quick.
Well, this one's been pretty fast, but to be fair, like this particular circle, like anything out on this hill is really nasty because this is a really long, like sloping hill without a lot of cover. So it turns into just a lot of like teams not, you know, finding space to hide basically.
Just a bit messy.
Yeah.
There's all like a bunch of angles that, you know, you pop your head up, someone or 2 people are going to be looking in your direction. It kind of is what it is.
Oh, that's
a nice little flank from Luxlock.
He's doing a really good job here. If he could keep it hidden, he should be able to pick off at least 1, maybe 2.
Gets to the tree. That's going to be big.
Yeah, he's got to get T-Bone here. And if he can do that, he's got a really good opportunity. But T-Bone seems pretty dialed in on watching.
I mean,
well, now he's I don't know what this is from GEX. This is like just revealing kind of the direction. So now Luxlock has to move. Like he can't keep pushing up that flank. There's no way Heroic's not going to be watching it.
Well, I mean, I think the zone was going to push at his back anyway, so I'm not sure that he had a great run in onto T-Bone. Like, you look at that, and there's just, like, no cover at all for him, so probably not ideal. And actually not too bad of a rotation in the end from Gex, just to get up to a position where they can even play with the zone. And, I mean, ultimately, they've even got a little bit of high ground control here, so I don't know. It's interesting, because you don't normally get a circle like this, where there's, like, 2 teams of 4 still alive, and there's still like 7 or 8 minutes left in the game to play. So it's kind of It's like watching them team fight in isolation, you know, which is kind of nice.
Exactly. No, it is really, really interesting. Yanlee's, he got away with one a bit there, in my opinion. I think he probably should have gotten taken down, but he's able to get up and under that hill at least enough that he can heal himself up. But yeah, it is a tough one here with like, you're not used to having this much space to maneuver. Ooh, SSR got taken down, but like, and yeah, it's hard to get a flank, right? There's just not enough room to like really push over that hill, like you were saying.
I mean, it's funny that it's Heroic again, you know.
Yeah.
I mentioned them a little bit earlier on that they've been doing pretty well so far in these scrims, and that seems to be continuing. If that happens for the next couple of weeks, they might be one of those teams that we talk about a lot on day one and say, like, oh, maybe they're a form team. Because I think form is also really important in a tournament like this, which is going to be, yes, it's going to be a month long, so that is a lot of time. But in isolation, you know, it's still quite a short amount of time. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have one really good month with players hitting their shots, whatever. You know, there's a chance that you can really overperform and do something that was quite unexpected. So if you're a team that's in form, I think that matters a lot. And it seems like Heroic's in pretty good form at the moment. So definitely keeping my eye on them at the very least.
Oh, those were some really good grenades there from Yanlee to find that knock on a cure. That was a really good read. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Heroic looks in good form. It's just, can Heroic keep it up? Because we've seen them just, you know, murder lobbies in EU and then kind of fall apart right after. So, you know, for me, it's just, you know, can they keep the consistency? And GEX is another team that I've seen do very, very well at times. But most of the time, they're just kind of, you know, they're in PWS. They're in these Korean lobbies. Most of the time they play these days, and they don't do so hot. Usually.
Right at the moment, so they haven't really enjoyed this 4-on-4. Not sure this one is really clutchable for Yanlee, but that definitely helps.
Start. It's a start.
They get the res or not?
Well, I think they're going to grab the utility off a cure there, T-Bone. There might have been a few more stuns or something. But T-Bone hasn't really found the opportunity to push Yanlee. I think Yanlee is just outside of the circle, so I think he has to push forward, and I think Heroic knows it.
Yeah, as soon as he walks up over this ridge, he's kind of cooked, isn't he? There's not really much cover. Needs to hit some pretty nutty shots. Actually, he's kind of found the timing off the fact that the damage that he's done, and it's like they're trying to hit the res right now, which is pretty much the perfect timing for Yanlee to actually.
Jesus!
Oh, maybe this is possible. Oh, maybe it is.
Dude,
no way.
Dude, no way he does this. Dude, Paige is also going for the heal right now, so there's just enough time for Yanlee to get this off and then, you know, pop up. Dude, he might actually do this. This is actually nuts.
Yeah, I mean, what's even going through your mind at this point as Paige? You're like, do I get the res? I mean, I guess if I do, that's going to give time, and that's what Yanlee's looking for.
Look at him pre-fire on this, too. Like, he knows. Oh, man, so close. Oh.
That would have been sick. I mean,
Dude.
It was sick. It was actually sick that he made it that close, but there you go.
That was a really good ending. Hey, like that one looked like it was over, Jordan. We were just I was just waiting for the inevitable, but yeah, Yanlee really put up some good stuff there. TSM really kind of handing it to a lot of people in that one. MTech, they just absolutely murdered them out in the open there.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the first game that we got to watch at PGC, I wouldn't be too disappointed by the ending. I thought there was a little bit of weirdness going on around the mid stages. Like, there was a lot of fighting in the middle of that game, where you might otherwise want to avoid it. But I guess, like you said, it sort of comes down to the way that circle played out. I'm kind of happy to see Buriram make a top 5. They didn't get a huge amount of kills out of it, but I think I'll take a top 5. I was sort of feeling right at the start of the game that the APAC teams were getting blasted a little bit. Like, Game Home got deleted. Archangel Predator struggled a little bit with that Novo drop, and I mean, Buriram did okay, I guess. So, yeah, overall, not too disappointed with our first game. I thought that was pretty fun. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from TSM. Like, I know we caught a little bit. Not to say that our observer's bad, but
well, I am bad. You can call me out on that. That's fine. I am not an observer by nature. I am still just trying to figure this out.
It's not an easy job casting and observing. I'm sure.
No, it's not the easiest. But all right, real quick here. I got to get into the next game, so I'm going to put us back on camera for a second. Jordan, and then yeah, it's another Erangel, and I think for me, like, my biggest thought coming into this for Buriram, I want to focus on them a little bit, because I think Buriram has the most potential
out of any APAC. Like inside of them, like they have the most explosiveness. You know what I mean? And I think for me, I want to see them just play a little bit more of a smart, like contained game. Like you said, they like to get out on the map, they like to get aggressive, and that's fine. But you got to make sure you're picking your right moments to do that kind of stuff.
Yes, yeah, I think that's particularly important when you are speaking in regard to a global competition. You know, like they can definitely get away with a lot in APAC. There's a lot of teams that they can just straight up bully with their individual skill and their aggression, and you know, maybe catch them off guard. And I think it can sort of teach you some bad habits. You know what I mean? Like you sort of expect to be able to win a lot of the fights and duels that maybe when you're going up against better players, you're not necessarily going to win. So I think these couple of weeks that they're going to be spending scrimming are going to do them a world of good. I think for all of the APAC teams coming into 2022, the ones that have actually been able to attend PGC are going to get a real leg up off the back of it. I don't know, you know, again, obviously we have no idea what's happening with 2022 as far as PUBG Esports is concerned, what it's going to be like. Is it still going to be an APAC thing? Is ANZ still going to be involved in APAC? Blah, 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 all these questions. But yeah, for those teams, being able to even just like play internationally, I think is such a leg up. And I mean, I probably would have said the same thing about PGIS, but I don't know, maybe it didn't make as much of a difference as I would have hoped for those teams. So I don't know, but APAC's just such a weird sort of thing. Sometimes you don't really know what you're going to get from it, and I think almost that's kind of the beauty of it, to be honest.
I mean, it is very true. I mean, every time I'm watching APAC, there's a new team out there that I knew about, but that is kind of surprising me in their ability to perform. I mean, the Vietnamese teams, it felt like right in 2020 they struggled. You know, they were having a really tough time. And then we come back to 2021, and all of a sudden, you know, you got BN United, you got Game Home, the Unicorn. What are the Unicorns?
Unicorn Phoenix.
Unicorn Phoenix. Yeah. They look great. All of a sudden, like the Vietnamese teams were really popping off again. So I was really excited for that personally, because, like, I remember back at PNC in 2019, like the Vietnamese teams came in hot. They were playing really well. Like we saw some of these players. God, who am I trying to remember? Levi's and I'm so bad with names. Levi's like the one that I really remember. But a lot of these guys were like really highly touted, and they came out and they played really good for a bit. And then since then, they haven't done much, to be honest. Like, and part of that is because they haven't been able to get to some of the tournaments due to visa issues. But I'm really excited to see what they can do personally. Jordan, real quick, I'm just going to take a short break. I just got to hit the bathroom, and then we'll get right back into it. The game should start in just a minute, chat, so hold tight. We'll be right back. All right, we're muted. Okay, that didn't take very long. All right, I remember the player's name while I was in the bathroom. So Pow, that was another one that really like came through.
Think about some weird things when you're in the bathroom.
Well, that's not the weirdest thing. We'll leave it at that. That's a lot.
You know, the one team that I'm disappointed not to see here, in a way, is actually Daytrade. Like, I feel like I don't know, man. Daytrade. I know people probably don't care because they're not a team that's a PGC, but they're just a team that, like, they constantly disappoint me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so mean to say in a way, but like, I just look at that team. They've been there pretty much since the start of PCS. They went to PGIS, and they did pretty well at PGIS,
Yeah.
but like apart from that, like I don't understand. You know, like how can you make top 12 at PGIS and then you're just like sitting 8th, 7th, 12th, sort of that kind of region in your domestic tournaments in PCS?
Yeah, hold on
then,
one second. My mic changed. Hold on, I gotta. Yeah.
Oh.
People are saying my mic changed, and I know. No, it shouldn't have. Huh? Wait, my mic changed? Sorry, chat's saying like when we transferred over to Elfish in his mom's car.
Yeah, I don't have a go at my mom's car.
Oh man,
hard for this.
Did it? I don't know what's going on with that. Jordan's also now distant? I don't know what happened with the audio here. I'm not sure. Oh.
Oops. I think maybe... Oops, sorry, chat. I don't know what happened there. Well, let's just go over to the game screen.
All right, cool. Yeah,
Sorry about that. I have no idea what happened. It was fine before, I guess, and I don't know what changed in between. It looks like we should have the right input devices, so I don't know. Anyway, day trade, dude. So I gotta admit, at PGIS, I was in the green rooms and stuff, kind of shitting all over day trade, and like I didn't think they'd do much, to be honest. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was like, day trade, like whatever. And then they kept playing like really, really well. And I was like, all right, this team is like, they've kind of figured this whole format out. Like they qualified for every weekend, didn't they? During PGIS, or like almost every weekend?
Yeah, I don't recall, to be honest, but I know they did really well, like just as a general rule.
So I was surprised, and then since then, yeah, like you're saying, they've just been a disappointment, to be frank.
Yeah, yep. I was disappointed not to see them here. But you know, it sort of makes the way open for a couple of other teams. Like BN United, definitely for me is the one that like I just didn't expect at all to make it to this point. I really like they came out of nowhere as far as I'm concerned in PCS 4.
Yeah.
And then obviously they did really well in PCS 5 as well. So yeah, I mean they were. I guess I guess in a way that's a good thing. You know what I mean? Like I think you don't necessarily want to be seeing the same old guard like rocking up over and over and over again if they're not going to perform on a consistent basis. Like it's well and good if you're going to be that team that continues to come through and win and make international tournaments happen and play reasonably well internationally. But if you're not, if you're not performing, then get out and let someone else have a crack and see how things go. And so, maybe that's the point for day trade. Like I think that's pretty harsh, obviously, and I don't necessarily, mean it in that sense. But like if they're not going to perform, then at least someone else can have a crack and see what happens.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think BN, I mean, yeah, like you said, I was a little bit unsure of them after PCS 4, but after PCS 5, I was like, okay, this team gets it. Like they especially for like the most chicken in the chicken.
Well,
format.
That's the thing. Yeah, I think they get that format. Like they were a team to me that really didn't frag super well. That's pretty ambitious from Starlord. But yeah, they're a team that I thought like they got the format. They were always dead center every single time. They were one of the fastest movers. They seemed to have the circle shifting over them. And people will say like, oh yeah, they got circle luck, blah blah blah. But like, obviously you have to put yourself in that spot first to get that circle luck. So, what the hell?
What's going on for CJ? What the hell? What the hell happened over here? Oh, Buriram had to drop.
Fight over Gatka.
Yeah, because of the plane path. Oh god, that circle's absolutely horrible. All right, so apparently I'm still having some weird audio issues. Give me 1 second to look at everything, make sure it's all on the right. Did it? I think it might have changed where my audio was coming from. Sorry, I'm horrible with this kind of stuff. Can you... All right, can you talk again, Jordan, real quick?
Hello, I'm in me mum's car. Vroom.
Let me...
It does actually sound like it was your webcam or something. Yeah.
Why would it... It shouldn't do that. Are you on my stream? Can you hear it?
I'm listening to it, yeah.
What the fuck? What happened? I just went to the bathroom. I don't think I...
It actually, you know what it does sound like? It sounds like we're in a bathroom. And there's like echoey.
Let me, hold on.
Let me... You just took your microphone in the bathroom.
Yeah, maybe. I thought about it. I don't know. What the heck? It's got my... It should be my line 3. Sorry about this. I don't know what the fuck happened.
It's almost like you have like 2 of the same input coming through.
Hmm. Let me take a look at my devices.
This is esports, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Welcome.
So my microphone should be that. So mine should be... What? Device is the right one. I don't know. No, I don't want to use
So
that.
on the stream 5 minutes ago, it sounds like you're...
Is it better now on the...
It sounds like your yeah, your microphone sounded
Oh.
fine on stream.
Okay. All right. Well, we didn't miss much. Okay. I guess it just must be on my one scene. The device isn't set correctly. I'll have to figure that out. So whatever.
Yeah.
We'll get that in a bit. All right. Well, back to the games. Back to the fun that is PUBG. This is a fight happening here over Fairy Pier, I guess, with Game Home. Is Game Home... I don't know how much you know. Like, is there a lot of like hot dropping in scrims or anything in APAC, or do they kind of take it easy?
I don't really watch the Apex streams too often, to be honest with you. But from what I hear and just having conversations with a few people, Apex scrims are a little bit of a mess. Like I wouldn't. I would take Apex scrims with a grain of salt. I think is basically the takeaway from me.
Okay. So they're just kind of, they're a little bit messy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
But I mean, for Game Home in particular, like I really don't think that you can even, like you can't even go off previous results for this Game Home roster because it's literally half of the roster. It's like only 2 players. And
That's true.
well, I mean, Sylphie is their regular sub, so that sort of helps, I suppose. But obviously, if he's not your core player, he's not your core player, and that's, that's not good. In an ideal world, you want to be playing with all 4 you've got. So.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, my expectations are pretty low for them because of that. It's no disrespect to them, but it's so hard to put a team together, like last minute like that. I mean, and it's so unfortunate, of course, because it's just visa issues,
I mean, that's just the world we live in at the moment. Like, I think at this point we can be pretty happy that this tournament's even going ahead. Do you know what I mean? Like, there has been so many tournaments around the world this year that have just been cancelled or thrown into disarray. And like, I know we're kind of getting through it a little bit now with all the vaccines and whatever and stuff like that. But I think obviously to cap off the year with an actual international tournament is going to be quite a good sign. Interesting, obviously, what's happened with the Chinese teams not being able to attend. Like, I don't know whether that's going to make much of a difference or not. I know people obviously want it to be all land, blah blah blah, but end of the day, like they're still going to be able to compete to the Korean server on a pretty reasonable ping, so it's not going to be the end of the world for them.
Yeah,
I'm
less
quite
than
interested
30.
to see.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it realistically like makes a huge amount of difference.
No, it doesn't, in my opinion. I mean, they when they play each other on these, they have like a lot of like events that are like Chinese hosted or Korean hosted, where it's like China versus Korea and all these kind of things. I've never heard a player or coach complain to me that ping is an issue in those events. Like, literally never.
I mean, if anything, it might even be like an advantage to an extent, because you're not having to travel quite as much, and you might be just in a bit more of a comfortable kind of setting. It doesn't feel like, quote unquote, as big a deal to you, and the occasion maybe doesn't get to you quite as much. I'm not sure. Anyway, Arcane Predator again, just getting absolutely wrecked.
Yeah,
So,
it started good. I saw them like killing 17 in the feed, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, here we go. And then it fell apart rather quickly. Now Mad Dog's
I
the
think
only one left.
Bururam kind of rocked up on him and a little bit of a gank.
Yeah, look at TSM. They are stuck. But it's against SNGE. Again, if you guys are just tuning in, this is like a Tier 2 Korean team. Not a team that even plays in PWS. So they're they're a little bit below the average, but they're filling in for the lobby since we're missing a couple of the teams. And big TSM had a great game on that first one, but this is not looking so good right now. And you look at Heroic showing up to this party.
Yeah, oof, indeed. Oof is a good word. I'm not sure that TSM will be feeling particularly happy about it though, because, as you say, Heroic's sort of arriving, and they're really not going to give TSM a huge amount of time here to get those reses off and get the meds up and running. There's just going to be nades chucked in here straight away, and I think TSM's kind of cooked.
I agree. That's what should happen. But Nif is hitting Heroic in the back. It's just a lot of teams trying to get to the edge to work north to south, which is often what teams really kind of want to do. And yeah, they're here from these grenades, and this should be the end here for TSM, but maybe someone's able to escape. Maybe Luke 12 can find himself a little out or something.
I mean, Purdy's still there. Never mind. Bit of a cast of curse. Oh, did you see another 1v4 from Luke 12? That'd be pretty pog. Did get that almost last game.
Maybe?
Not quite by the looks of things. 16 HP. It's kind of grasping at straws with the maybe there, I feel.
It didn't go well.
Yeah, no. I mean, hey, from one good game to a bit of a rougher game, it is what it is sometimes. Just get stuck in a fight at a bad time. I mean, Heroic continue to sort of make the right moves, though. Like, it's just something to keep an eye on. They continue to impress.
Yeah, exactly. It is, I think, for Heroic, the Scrim Bucks, you know, are very valuable here. Ghibli is a team I have a lot of concerns about after just not even making PCS 5 Asia. They got here solely on their second place finish in PCS 4. They haven't looked good lately. I mean, Adder had a great moment in that last game where he wiped out. Who was that?
That's a few teams, actually. I think there's a few teams in that's sort of conversation. Buram obviously is one of them as well. But Kaishin didn't play in PCS 5 either, did they? I know you're a big fan of Kaishin, so maybe maybe you have a bit of a better insight than me as to how their chances are looking. But I found them a hard team to research, you know, because they've only played in that one season of PCS.
Kaishin is like really strong with Cobra. They're like just a mid-level Chinese team without him. They always talk about Cobra as one of the 3 gods in China, or 4 gods, like him, Longsker, Ming from New Happy, and Forever. It's 4 gods, yeah. And so without him, they're just a medium level team, and that's why they couldn't qualify for PCS 5. They lost him, but he's actually, I guess, playing in this event. So maybe there's hope for Kaishin.
I mean, something obviously we will talk about when we do end up watching them a little bit more, and when we do come into PGC. But yeah, I mean, it was just something to mention because they were one of those teams that didn't play in PCS 5. And I always think like it's a little bit harder to get a bit of a read on teams that, in a situation like this, have managed to qualify for an international worlds level tournament without playing the most recent domestic competition that they could have, because that's the one where you take all of the knowledge from. You know, you look at PCS 5, you say, okay, well, Virtus Pro, they won PCS 5, FaZe came second, those 2 teams probably in a good spot, blah, blah, blah. You know, obviously for Pero as well, 2 wins in a row in PCS 4 and PCS 5. They're looking like a good team, but you see someone that hasn't played in PCS 5, you think, okay, well, I'm not really sure what to make of it, because, like, their qualification is almost old news. You know, their solid form is old news. It's the same for Buram, right? They had a really good start to the year. They did really well earlier on in 2021, but their second half of 2021 has been a little bit bumpy. So, yeah, I mean, look, obviously those teams are still good and they deserve to be here and that, but I don't know if they're necessarily the teams that we really see running away with things. They're definitely not the form teams necessarily coming into the tournament. Yeah,
I agree with you. It's going to be hard to judge, and there's always going to be like 2 or 3 teams that just shock the hell out of us at a tournament like this, that just play way above what anybody would have thought they could have coming into this. And I expect one of the APAC teams to be, it just always seems to happen. You know, for me, it's just inevitable almost. Like there's always a team that just kind of has that, they catch fire and they gain a bunch of confidence, and it could be a Kaishin, it could be a Buriram that we haven't seen them in a while, and maybe our expectations are low. But sometimes that people play better under that kind of mindset. You know what I mean?
I would love to see another Atletico-esque run from a team. You know, remember when they? I think it was it GLL Grand Slam where they came second.
Yeah.
I don't recall exactly, but yeah,
It was
they.
GLL season 4.
Yeah, and
Or the Grand Slam.
I
No,
think
no, no.
going
You're right.
into
You're right. Grand Slam. You're right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No one going into it really expected them to be a team that would do that. Like, they were a team that wasn't. You knew they weren't shit, but no one thought they were going to be one of the best teams in the world at that point in time.
I didn't expect them to get second. That's
Well, yeah, and they were even in the discussion for taking first. I think actually going into the final day they were first place. But obviously FaZe came through and did their thing. But you know, I'd love to see that from another team where you just you literally don't expect it at all.
Right.
And then from the outset they're just like absolutely blasting and just overperforming and just. You know, because that's a really interesting, exciting storyline, in my opinion. A massive underdog coming through. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because they were an Aussie team. But, you know, I think that's the most exciting thing.
I would love to see that
nowhere.
for, like, Fury. I mean, I could see them doing that. Like, I don't think Fury would come out of nowhere in my book. I think Fury plays a very solid, smart game. They don't have any, but, you know, Flood is very, very good, of course. Like, Waikikamuka is great. The whole team is quite strong, but they don't have anybody who's like blowing the doors off of you mechanically, like a PO or a Clib or this kind of thing.
I think maybe that, and I'm not sure. Maybe this will be controversial, but I think that might be a bit of a detriment to Fury. And I was going to sort of mention that, like, when they come to these sorts of international events, I don't know if they necessarily are a team that has that X factor.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by saying like X factor is like that FaZe Sunday storyline or Genji with PO and that kind of thing. Like, do they have that ability as a team? And given the fact that, they've played every single season of PCS so far, and they haven't been able to win one so far. They've had 2 seconds, 3 fourths. They've always been up there in the discussion, but they've never actually won one. Like,
Right.
Are they a team that's actually going to convert a tournament if the opportunity is there? I mean, history says no, so
Right.
I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, this is why my expectations for Fury are, I think they have a good chance of making the grand finals just on being a consistent team. Well, that was a nice seat swap there by Hwarong. Holy shit.
I'd be happy if they made the grand finals. Like,
I think they will.
I'm not saying that they need to win, Like,
Yeah.
that's not the expectation. But yeah. I just think it's so hard that, like, if we take that Atletico example, to beat a team like FaZe, if it were FaZe back at that point, maybe this time around it's going to be someone else. But those are teams that have all the experience. They've been playing against the best teams in the world. They have been in that situation before, and they've won from that position before. And you're a team that's coming from the arse of the world, basically, playing for the first time in more than 12 months internationally against some of these guys and whatever.
Yeah.
Are you going to have that ability to really step up in that moment, I guess? And I don't think there's a nice way to say it. I almost feel bad saying it in a way. But it's a question mark. It's a question mark. That's all I'm going to say. I think that's a discussion we can get into if that eventuates, if there is on the final day of PGC a possibility that one of these underdog teams would win. But yeah, it just feels like the odds are stacked against you so much when you're going up against the big dogs that, like, you almost need everything to go perfectly.
Yep.
Because as soon as you make one slip up, as soon as you make one mistake, I mean, again, the Atletico example, they're rushing down that hill, going to the yellows near mill to power. They run into a team. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Navi or I can't even remember. It really honestly doesn't matter. They run into a team. There's a team already in those buildings, and they get absolutely wiped in, like, I don't know, 13th, 14th place that game. And you think, okay, well, they have a lead. And then FaZe goes on to win the final game of the tournament, and it's just like, well, what the fuck are you supposed to do at that point?
Right.
It's just not make the mistake. But
right. But that's hard, I mean, like, if you haven't been in those situations, and you don't know how to deal with the pressure and the intensity of what that brings, and, like, the nerves that it's like they're gonna be running through you. Ooh, nice shooting here by Spear, but it's hard to describe. Like, even like, I don't know if you ever competed in a game, but like a long time ago,
Well.
I used to play. I didn't play well either, but I used to compete in Halo 3, so I went to a couple events, and I remember the first time I showed up to one of the MLGs, I was so fucking shaky I couldn't believe it. Like, I wasn't nervous, but I was still shaking.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Funny story, like PUBG related as well. I played in an internet cafe tournament here in Australia. in PUBG, and I won the desk that I'm now using to hold up my computer. So thanks, PUBG. It's a DX Racer desk, but yeah, I won it. And we won this internet cafe tournament and whatever. But holy shit, like I hadn't really ever played any competitive. Like I played like TF2 and whatever in like a quote unquote in a team, but I was never in a good team or whatever. But when I was playing in this PUBG thing and I was actually at the venue and I was on the PC, my hands were shaking and I was like really nervous and I was like, this is really weird because like this doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? Like literally no one is watching this. It wasn't even streamed. I was streaming it on my own channel. I had like 4 viewers or whatever. No one was watching it. Results aren't going to get posted anywhere. No one actually cares.
Yep.
And if I don't win, I've paid $10 to play, or maybe I can't even remember. I think we got in for free because they wanted us to stream it. Anyway, you know, like I lost nothing apart from a day, but a day playing PUBG, it was kind of fun anyway. And I was just so nervous for like the first 2 or 3 games. I couldn't aim. On dead set, could not aim. So
yeah,
I can't imagine what it's like going to an international tournament. And you know, you can say obviously these teams have all competed in PCS events and blah blah blah, and they'll be used to it. But you know, it's a bigger deal when you go to an international one when you're overseas. You know, for a lot of these players, going to Korea is probably a pretty big deal.
You're on stage. You know, the other teams are around you. There's cameras. There's lights. There's all these things that you don't think about that are gonna be there. And that kind of, whether you know you intentionally realize it or not, are going to affect your mentality, and so it's being kind of prepared for. Oh, you're dead. You should be dead. Then oh, Indigo.
Oh,
Indigo.
you're not dead.
Indigo. Oh,
He's not dead.
He should have been.
It's like Neo. Doesn't use bullets.
But yeah, it's a hard thing to explain. Like, if you've never experienced it. I mean, the level of pressure changes, like, moment to moment, game to game. Like, the situation that you're in. Yeah, and that's why, yeah, teams like FaZe, I don't ever count FaZe out in this tournament. Like, all those players, you know, they've been around for a while. They've gotten it done, you know. I think it's still Fuzzface and Atesy, still from the old FaZe from 2019, that was on that team, you know, that made that incredible, you know, final game on the semis to get to the grand finals.
I mean, even Gustav was around back in PGC 2019, not on FaZe.
No.
He was playing on TSM.
TSM, that's what it was.
But,
yeah.
But you know, he's got a lot of experience as an individual as well. So
yes,
it's kind of nice to see that sort of coming through. And he was with them at PGIS as well and stuff like that. So yeah, I think for me, FaZe, like, I almost wish FaZe was still a top team. I mean, I guess to make the argument they are. But I don't know if it's the same FaZe as it was coming into PGC 2019. Like, for me, I wasn't really involved in the broadcast or anything like that in the sense for PGC 2019. So maybe I am misremembering a little bit. But to me, like, it was all Gen G and FaZe. Like Gen G versus FaZe. Everyone was talking about Gen G and FaZe.
Yeah.
And obviously
Uber versus PO was the real.
I almost wish that was still a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, if that was still a thing, that would be so cool.
Yeah, I mean, Uba's kind of just hasn't been, you know, feeling it. Basically, is what I think has been the real story for Uba. Is, you know, since that tournament, it just hasn't really. He's had some good moments. I mean, FaZe won one of the PCSs last year when he was on them, but yeah, it seems like. You know, he's come here to be a sub for Virtus Pro, but I don't expect him to be starting. From what I've heard, I don't think that's the plan at all. I think he's literally just here to be in, you know, in case somebody gets sick or something goes wrong. But yeah, coming into this, we don't have a lot of those storylines. Like, we don't have the PO versus Uba. We don't have a lot of those stories built yet.
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing as well, isn't it? Like, you have to come through from day one and start new discussions, you know, and start new storylines. But I don't know. Like, I mean, it just, for me, like, that was such an enjoyable event to watch and follow, and I think that's why I sort of have a lot of nostalgia around that event. I don't have as much like of a feeling from PGIS as what I do from PGC 2019. So, and it's really nice to have PGC coming back. I think that's just a big deal in general. But yeah, like, if I go back and look at the PGIS results, to me, that it didn't feel like as big of a deal as PGC in a way.
Yeah. Oof. Man, Zenon just like holding the fort down here for GX. They're playing really good today. 10 kills in this one. Yeah, I mean, I think PGC, and also like, man, PGC was like our first global championship. It was at a really hype arena at the Oakland Center. Like there was a crowd there, and it's going to be hard to replicate. Even though I'm with you. I'm really excited about this PGC. I think it's a little bit of a bigger deal in a way, but I'm a little bit nervous because again, there's no crowd. Like it's hard to get that feeling. It's hard to replicate that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I guess we have to wait until 2022 for that one. Hey, Heroics in another top 3 situation. So might be 2 from 2.
I think they got this.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, well, Nif still has 4 up. Hero only has 3. But it kind of looks like Hero's got a bit of a better spot inside of the zone. Just a little bit more coverage of the zone at the very least.
They're going up against 2 B-tier Korean teams, so I think they've got a pretty good shot at this. I mean, it depends if the circle shifts towards Nif's compound. You know, that's just it. That'll be the win, but most likely.
I mean, you say B-tier Korean team, but like, what's the strength level of Korea in general? Like, is it not pretty deep?
Yeah, it's pretty deep. It is really deep. There's a lot of really, really good players, and there's still like new players that show up, you know, every year that hit the age limit where they can compete, and they're quite good. Like Salute for Danawa, right, just came out this year, and he's absolutely insane. One of the top 5 best players, I'd say, in Korea right now. And so, yeah, it's pretty deep. We've lost some of the talent over the course of the year to various circumstances. Like military is a big thing that, right, we always talk about in Korean esports that ends up, you know, causing issues because the players have to do their military at some point in time. But a lot of the veterans are kind of hanging out on the periphery of this stuff and, you know, either moving on to other things. Like Kale just announced he's moving over to Valorant the other day. And I've heard rumors that, I'm not going to say who, but some players are thinking about hanging it up after this year. So, yeah. I mean, they're really good. Like, I guarantee this Korean team over here is, you know, like you stick them in another lobby in some other regions, and they're going to fare just fine. But I don't know. I don't have as much faith in the Korean region as I used to, if that makes sense. Especially because they haven't been able to beat China in any of the PCSs. So
yeah, I suppose there's that. But I mean, you think about the natural life cycle of an esport. You're not going to have the same players sort of sticking around for, I don't know, how old is PUBG now? Like 4 or 5 years?
5 years?
Maybe?
Almost 5 years?
Yeah, so, you know, the top teams 5 years ago probably for the most part don't exist anymore. At least the individuals, and you go through and slowly but surely things morph and change. And every single time a generation passes on, you say, well, now it feels like this region's not as strong as it used to be. But inevitably they sort of take the year or two to sort of recollect themselves maybe and start to rise back up a little bit again. I don't know, maybe that's something that's going through the motions at the moment for Korea, and sort of China's having its moment and then Korea's going to come back. And
yeah.
I mean, who knows, really?
Could be. I think there's still a lot of talent in Korea. And again, there's a lot of young players that I see in the scrims when I'm just kind of, you know, chilling around, just kind of not doing anything. And I talk to some of the coaches, and like there's this guy like Bob Songhead who was playing for Go and Go Prince for a little bit, who's a really talented young kid who's he's still in high school. I mean, he's not even. I mean, he's like, we joke about Flood being, you know, not even having his driver's license yet, but this kid actually like does not have his driver's license. So I don't know. I think there's still a lot of talent on the periphery in Korea. It's just going to be curious to see how it all shakes out next year, to see who's going to retire, who's going to step up, what orgs are going to stick around. You know, is T1 going to come back? Like they dropped their org. These are all kind of big questions. You know, I have.
Well, this sort of feels like the last game again. We've got another 2 teams just sitting here since 25 minutes into the game, having a bit of a stalemate face-off.
Yeah, hold on. The chat is saying that I should turn the game volume down, so let me just give it a little bit of a...
I mean, I'm not sure we're going to miss much over the next 2 minutes or so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I guess phase 8 is starting to push in, so that'll show us a little bit.
Too bad, chat. You want the volume down? You get the volume down. All right. Hopefully that's a little bit better. It was a bit loud in my ears, but I just wasn't sure how it was coming through to the stream. Anyway, all right, let's watch it. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, I don't know. I have all these questions about like what's going to happen in Korea for PUBG Esports. It's just, we had Gen G, and then this whole COVID thing seems to have kind of taken the wind out of the sails a bit. And then the fact that they've been getting rocked by China. Maybe that's just me. Like, I'm actually like really invested in like teams and players. Like, as much as I try to be not biased on cast. Oh God. It's hard not to. You know what I mean? Like, you care about these guys. And, like, you want to see them succeed and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same for me. Obviously, we all saw what happened. Heroic had to make a move. It didn't work out too well for them. So, NIF gets themselves a win, which is nice. But yeah, like I agree. Even when I'm doing the APAC sort of shows, I'm, in a sense, sort of pulling for Fury, even though you shouldn't, in a way, as a caster. I think
Right.
I think some people think that shows through. I like to think it doesn't, but hey, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'm sure it'll sort of crop up a little bit here in PGC. We'll all be sort of rooting for our own regions. But
That's
in a
okay.
way, like I don't even mind that. Yeah, like I don't even mind that. When you have representation from each region, I think it's fine. And it sort of builds this little bit of a rivalry between the regions. I think it's kind of fun. So, I wouldn't be too disappointed if people were sort of pulling for their own teams. I know going back and looking at some of the VODs, I remember in the final couple of days of PGC last time, they were sort of going around each respective region and looking at the predictions, and like all the Chinese casters were predicting a Chinese team to win, and all the Korean guys were predicting, like I think it was Entis back then, and a lot of the North American guys were predicting for Lazarus, etc., etc.
Yeah,
So I think that's fine. I think that's cool. It sort of adds that storyline and that discussion point. And
Well, and I like, when we have casters from all the different regions, because like we've really focused on the teams. We know their stories. We know the players themselves, like their personalities and like what's been happening throughout the course of the, like, it just makes the overall quality of the broadcast better, right? When we can have everybody from all over the world being able to bring all this, interesting and unique stuff, and we understand their play styles, and like, because like having you here today, like, again, I liked it because like you're telling me a lot of stuff about Buriram and AAP that I don't, that I haven't focused on because I've been busy, with Asia and stuff. So I'm with you on that. Is
Yeah, for sure.
Xenox being a
I don't know.
Cooper?
He hasn't messaged me. He said he was going out for dinner tonight and he would join
Yeah.
whenever that was done. So I don't know when that's supposed to be done. But
What?
yeah, I don't see him online on Discord right now, so I
what
assume he's still sort of out at the moment.
What a bastard! Jeez.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Like,
Can you believe that guy?
who would go out for dinner on a? I don't even know what night it is. It's Tuesday night, right? Yeah, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's like that a little bit.
I don't know.
It's like that. I'm in the process of flipping my sleep schedule because I've got some Counter-Strike to cast overnight.
Oh, really?
In the middle of PGC as well, so that's going to be interesting.
Nice.
It's trying to keep up with what's happening at PGC and
What are
then
you?
also
What are you casting?
casting overnight. The ESL Pro League Conference and IEM Winter are the two things.
Nice.
So yeah, they're nice. They're good stuff. I wouldn't do an overnight broadcast for something that wasn't at least a decent level.
At least for us, for PGC, man, we don't have to.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
stay up late,
perfect
right?
timing for us actually. That's the one great thing, and I like watching LOL as well, and I love it when they have Worlds in China because it's always on the perfect time zone for me, pretty much. Like it gets a little bit late, and PGC and PCS even do get a little bit late for me. Like it runs into like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning, which is like it's like on the precipice of being acceptable, but it's like you know what, we can deal with that. But yeah, it's about as good as it can get compared to. I remember watching GLL Grand Slam. Yeah, that one. That I can't remember where exactly that was, but I remember it
It's in
finishing at like
Sweden,
4
I
a.m. in
think?
the morning.
I think it was in
Yeah,
Stockholm.
yeah. The final game was at 4 a.m. in the morning. It was a struggle.
Oh God. I mean, what was the one I was doing that I was like, I can't even remember. My year has been so bizarre. But yeah, I've had a few that I've been like, I start casting at like 3 a.m. and then the sun's coming up and I'm like, well, it was Iceland. It was for Valorant Masters.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
God. And I had to soundproof my room because I was waking my neighbors up because it was too loud. So I actually
Yeah,
have like
that's,
you can see it as soundproofing foam. Oops, it's almost fallen over, but
I need to get some of that too.
it
'Cause my
helps.
girlfriend is literally like behind me.
Ooh.
Behind me in the other Dacia on the other side of the garage. Yeah.
In the other side of the Dacia. She's not even
Yeah,
in the
she's
back
just
seat. She's in the
lying
boot.
down asleep. Yeah.
Do you guys call them boots there? Is that I know in England they
We
call
call
it
it a boot.
a boot.
Yeah. A
Okay.
boot. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Just a friendly reminder, chat. We are on a 5-minute delay, so if there are technical problems, I try to fix them. I think I got the audio fixed for this. For the
It sounds fine to me.
yeah, for
But
this.
maybe now, because we're 5 minutes in the future, something could be broken.
Yeah, check it when we come back to the to this screen because this
Yeah,
is the one
yeah.
where people said it was having problems.
I will. I will.
All right, we're moving over to. Oh God, I need to get into the next game. I am an idiot. Oh, I hope I didn't miss
Yeah.
it. Jesus, I am like I got so enthralled talking to you here, man.
Talking about
What have you done to
random
me?
shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I hope I didn't miss it.
They're not that quick through the games normally, so you should be all right.
Usually not. Okay, I had enough time. I got in.
Poggers made
Whew,
it.
whew. Thank God I remembered. I've missed them before, and then I'm just like I have to sit here for 30 minutes and look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But yeah, Miramar next. Chat, and yeah, I don't know, man. It's kind of fun for me to watch these scrims just to see like who's actually trying. If that like you know what I mean, like some of
Heroic's
these
definitely
teams just
trying.
yes, heroic is like try hard mode right now.
Mm.
And I think they have a lot to prove. I think, I know I've met T-Bone and Paige at a couple different events. Those are the two that I really know from Heroic. And I mean, I know they're pretty hard on themselves. Like whenever they have like a bad day, like they are just absolutely just so hard on themselves. I'm like, guys, like it's PUBG. Like, yeah, everybody
You're gonna
has
have
bad
a bad
days.
day.
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
in a game like PUBG where there's just so many factors. And it might even be like, not even just the game, obviously, potentially cooking you up a little bit, but one team just decides that they don't like you in this particular moment and they decide to push you, shoot you, do whatever. That's your game. So you
Yep.
really are at the mercy of a lot of things in PUBG. And yeah, that's why it's such a hard game to really get a read on sometimes when it comes to these kinds of tournaments, when you don't watch these teams play against each other all the time. And it's obviously not like a direct comparison between the teams themselves either. You kind of like, well, kind of just have to go with the flow, see what happens, and hope for the best.
Right. It's funny because like the start of these tournaments is always like wildly different than the end. Like what the meta
Mm.
will look like by the end of the tournament, it ends up just looking like normal PUBG. Like teams are kind of playing quote unquote standard. They're rotating into the spots you would expect and taking the fights that you would expect. But like in the beginning, it's just absolute chaos. Like sometimes teams will just be like overly cautious and nobody wants to move and nobody wants to like be the first one to die. So like the first game will be like 20 minutes of nothing because nobody wants to fight and everybody's just like hiding in a hole and try not to die. And so I'm kind of curious to see like what this will look like, what the meta of the tournament will be. And you never know, dude. Like it's every time you come into these, I think I have a good read on what's going to happen, and then I'm almost always wrong. So I don't even try anymore. I just like let it come to me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I agree. Like you at the start of every season of PCS, we are always kind of like saying that at least the very first day, we're always just like, oh, don't really know what to make of today. Like, there's going to be a lot of hot drops. People are going to be playing differently. People are going to be probably playing a little bit slower, maybe more reserved. Once you get a feel of things, then you get a bit of a better idea. But it's still, super early on in the piece, and particularly in a situation where, like in PGC, you've got, I don't even know how many teams. I haven't actually done the math, but it's like
32.
a lot of teams. 32,
32.
yeah. Then that's double the amount of teams you would normally have for a tournament. And then obviously they're playing like A and D lobbies here, for example. And then you're going to have B and C, and then you're going to have A versus D, and you're going to have D versus C, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, if this team gets this spot in this lobby, they might not necessarily get it in this lobby, and they might not be able to play the same way in the next lobby. And
Right.
so it's all a bit of a mess. until you get to like that final 16 where you've watched these teams for 3 weeks, you have an idea of how they want to play and what they want to be doing, and they themselves obviously also start to really be able to nut down exactly what they're doing. You just have no idea sometimes, so
Right.
it's a little bit of a journey that you have to go on, I guess, and that's kind of the fun of it, I find, as
Oh
well,
yeah.
with PUBG.
Oh, totally. I mean, that's what makes PUBG interesting. Is like day to day, you don't know what you're gonna get with these lobbies, because coming into it, everybody's has like different ideas about what they think is the right call for the beginning of it, like how to approach it. And yeah, some teams will have the right read, but most teams won't. Like most teams will have a bad read on how to approach the event or approach the tournament and approach the teams. Like, like let's say you're just assuming like you're a team that drops over in Buriram's area, and in the scrims, like Buriram's pretty aggressive about like getting up in your business in that area. Like if they think they want to cut you off on a rotation path, but Buriram might not do that in a tournament. Like they might just kind of go back to like a standard style. Things like that you have to think about that are like PUBG is actually like. I was talking to somebody, one of my caster friends who is not involved in PUBG at all, has never casted it or anything like that, but watches it from time to time. And he said, like, he's like, I don't know, PUBG seems pretty straightforward to me. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, there's so much going on underneath the surface of this. Like, it's like watching a duck on water. On the top, the duck looks very stable, but underneath, his feet are, like, kicking like crazy. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of esports titles that are like that, though, And actually, I think that's one of the good things about PUBG, to be honest, where if you look at it on the surface, it is pretty easy to understand what's going on. I think that's a real big benefit, to be honest. But there obviously is a complexity and a skill level there and whatnot. You'd probably say the same thing about like Counter-Strike, for example. It looks pretty straightforward. It's 5 versus 5. You just have people doing this. They shoot things, and whoever shoots the best wins the game. And that's kind of the crux of it. And I guess, to be fair, that's kind of the crux of PUBG as well. It's like whoever shoots the best wins. But ultimately, there's a lot more to it. And I think it's better to have a game like that is easy to understand on the surface, rather than something like maybe LoL or Dota or whatever, StarCraft, something like that, where you kind of actually have to know what each individual thing does to actually understand. Otherwise, you have to be really invested in the game already to sort of enjoy it. Whereas at least with PUBG, like maybe you're not someone that's played a lot of PUBG. Maybe you've played another battle royale. Maybe you come from Apex. You're just watching PUBG because it's the World Finals tournament, whatever. You can still understand exactly what's going on. You still know what's going on. And so I think that's really good.
I agree with you. I mean, this is something that I've kind of tried to fight a battle with, where there's like this weird perception that PUBG is too chaotic. And I'm like, well, it can be a little bit chaotic, but like, stuff like this, like Buriram's always hot dropping people on Miramar. But like, it can be, but yeah, like then I hear other people say that it seems pretty simple on the surface. And I'm like, well, that's exactly like what makes it good, is it's very watchable. It's very understandable what's happening in every situation. Like you could tell by the character animations and, the other stuff, what's going on. And I don't know. I have a real frustration with like the popular perception of the game, in that I think too many people just don't understand what the game really is. They have a skewed view one way or another, whether it be that it's too complex or not complex enough. And I find that to be very strange, because I think this game is a really good balance of all of those things. I think Buriram, did you mute yourself, Jordan?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay, sorry. Anyway,
but I think Buriram might have maybe muted themselves a little bit, because hasn't looked good. They lost the player though, did they? Got me out, Edie Canaxi. Where's Nordra?
Yeah, no, Audra must not have
Nordra's
made
not
it.
there, then obviously that doesn't help, because like I feel like Nordra is actually one of the best players on the team. At least in terms of his fragging output. Anyway, TSM get the better of him. I mean, that's nice, I guess, in a way. Like, if we're being real, we probably want to see the top teams really being able to sort of nut out their drop spots. And I think it's good that TSM's going to be able to, in theory, I don't know, maybe this will end up being something that continues to be contested. But if you're in a scrim environment and you're hot dropping and you're losing that hot drop consistently, I would think you would move on, right? So if you're one of those top teams, you really want to be winning these kinds of fights. And if TSM is going to be one of the top competitors, or they're going to hope to be one of the top competitors, then it's a good thing for them to be able to win these fights fairly consistently.
You have to. Unless your plan is like FaZe and Gen G where they just don't care, where they're just like, well, we'll just go somewhere else. It doesn't matter. I find it interesting, though, because, right, like, we saw Buriram fight over this compound that Spear is in, like, a bajillion times. Remember that? Do you remember that? At PGIS, and also in these scrims here that I was watching the other week, they fight over this compound for, like, control of this El Azahar area. But I found it kind of interesting that they went for TSM for control of Hacienda this time. So I think for Buriram, there still seems to me like they're trying to find a home on Miramar in these lobbies.
Or Buriram?
Yeah. Isn't this where they used to drop at PGIS? Weren't they fighting with... Who was that?
I can't recall. I feel I
A
can't recall
Chinese
exactly
team?
where they dropped. Hang on, let me have a look back.
Yeah. I think they were fighting like with a Chinese team for control over this area, but I could be... Where do they usually drop on Miramar? Is it Al Azahar?
I thought it was El Azahar, yeah.
Okay.
But
thought so.
now I'm second guessing myself a little bit.
I think that they, like, by proxy fight for El Azahar at, like, one of these compounds. I'm pretty sure it's this compound here that Spear's in. Like, if it is a red and 2.
Yeah, like it's just like in and around El Azahar. It's not exactly like just in El Azahar.
Yeah, so I think at least in scrims, I've seen them fight for this compound. But maybe in the main event, they stopped doing that. I'm trying to remember. It was so long ago.
Well, yeah, it might be one of those things where they're just trying out something a little bit because they're not sure if they're going to be able to lock down their normal drop spot. Just seeing what they can do, if they can. I don't know. I feel like I feel like it's impossible in a way to really know what you're going to be able to get in a situation like this when you're going to have so many different lobbies to play with. You know, because like you might, like I said, you might be able to get it in one lobby, but in another 2 lobbies, you might actually get contested for that spot. So do you continue to contest? Do you have faith in yourself? Maybe if you're Buriram to contest some of these top teams? I don't know.
I don't know either. It's hard to, like you're saying, lock down just one spot consistently. Like 17 today is, you know, there's no Sonics, so they can control Picado. There's no way in hell Picado is, you know, going to be given up by the Sonics. There's literally no way. And there are other teams who like Picado, so... these are like all these like things that are on the periphery of the event, like that I'm talking about, that we have no idea really what the first day is going to look like, because there might just be like 5 hot drops, you know, in the first game, because people are still fighting over the territory. Because like you're saying, there's so many different lobby combinations possible that, you know, teams and players might feel like it's worth, you know, putting their foot down early in the event to try to lock down a location. I don't know what Lingdu's doing. I think he lost a tire. And that Murato's already not the easiest to drive off-road.
Well, Murado is... sorry, what am I even saying? Miramar especially is not the easiest to drive on in general, so
Right.
that doesn't help. TSM, I mean, they continue to frag out, don't they?
Jesus.
They're getting into some good fights. Luke 12 is looking real good.
What do you feed? What do you feed like your players? Why are they so good at PUBG, man? Like, why do you have so many just unbelievably talented players that come out of your region? Explain it to me.
I think it's the week. Must be the Weet-Bix and Vegemite. I don't know if Luke 12's a fan of Weet-Bix and Vegemite, but I like them both. Hasn't really helped me, but I guess
I've never
maybe
had
for
either.
someone else.
Well, that's
I'm sure we can set you up with some at some point.
I'd love to try. I really want to try Vegemite. Like, everybody tells me it's disgusting, like, for, like, people who aren't from your area, but for some reason it seems like something I'd like. I don't know why, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just...
Most people don't.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. What does it taste like? Have you had it?
Vegemite, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, salty, really.
Oh, it's salty?
Super salty.
Oh,
yeah.
it's super salty.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Is it like anything? I don't think it's really like anything.
Okay.
It's just salty.
Is it bitter?
Basically, that's how I just... yeah, I guess.
Is it sweet at all?
No, well, okay, so that's the weird thing, right? Because, like, I feel like there's maybe a little bit of sweet with Vegemite. But I think it's kind of like, it might be kind of like an acquired taste. It might be like whiskey, for example. I don't know if you're into whiskey.
I like whiskey,
Where
yeah.
if you drink whiskey for the first time, you're like, fuck, that tastes like shit. And then after a year of drinking it, you might be like, okay, I can taste this, I can taste that, whatever. I think maybe that's what Vegemite's like. And that's probably a little bit. That sounds pretentious as all hell. But like, you know, the first time you eat Vegemite, you're gonna be like, this is awful. Why is anyone eating this? And then you eat it a few times, you're like, okay, now it's salty, and there's like maybe a little bit of sweetness on the aftertaste. And look, it's not the world's greatest food, I'll tell you that, but it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I like it.
All right. I'm just super curious. I want to try it just because, like, I hear so much about it, and I like to try weird foods. Like, I live in Korea, and there's a lot of weird foods here, and I've tried most of them. So I'm always down for some new things. 17, I think they should be able to bop SNG out of here, actually. I don't know. SNG is not done much today, but this is... 17's another team, dude. We haven't... I was actually just, like, looking at this. They haven't played in a global competition since they got, you know, taken out of the lobby by Captain's Grenade, you know, a couple years ago, right? Like, that like, lobby not only, like, yeeted them out of that event, but it, like, yeeted them out of global competition. They haven't been back to anything outside of Asia since then, I think. And I think that's kind of interesting, like, the dynamic.
Like one event can ruin your career.
Yeah. Like the fact that one event can just actually be like a make or break for such a long time. I don't think the Fury Boys haven't been to anything international since they were.
I can't even remember what it was. It would have been
right?
Incognito, yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what event it was that they went to.
I think it was.
So that's like
Face it.
Yeah, I mean, but that's where some of my questions come from for Fury, is because it's been just so long for them since they've gone overseas. Because they miss PGIS, I feel like that kind of wrecks them a little bit in a way. Like, obviously, they're still a really good squad. And they're very talented and they're very consistent as well in APAC. But being consistent in APAC and being good in APAC is one thing. And then obviously being able to translate that onto an international stage is another. You know, we've seen a lot of times teams be really consistent and good in their own regions and then just capitulate on the international stage. So I think, like, I'm not going to really be able to make a particularly informed opinion about them and probably the majority of the APAC teams until, you know, we're like a week into PGC.
But you got that veteran presence of Flood, right? He was at the last
True,
PGC.
True. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, he played with them at GLL Grand Slam as well. I think he was in that team that came second. So
on the Atletico team?
Yeah, on Atletico, sorry.
Pretty
yeah.
sure he
so
was, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, I mean, I think that's really nice and useful, but I mean, A, it was a long time ago, B, it was a completely different team. So apart from it, you know, benefiting him as an individual, I'm not sure. Does it make a big difference for the team as a whole?
I think it probably does. I think it at least helps. Like, he probably has, like, sometimes, like, you have individual reads on, like, player tendencies and some stuff, so you can give some, like, kind of feedback to your teammates and be like, hey, here's how this player likes to play, or he likes to re-peek it, or he doesn't, or, you know, he's the kind of guy who'll go for, like, oh, MCG's getting involved in this. He'll be the kind of guy who, like, wants to do, like, a, you know, a throwaway grenade or something, or, like, a fadeaway grenade. I mean, I don't know. I think it helps. I mean, it can't hurt.
No, it definitely doesn't hurt. It definitely doesn't hurt at all. And I'm sure it does. You know, we're talking about that pressure situation as well. Like, it's a bit of an interesting fight there. MCG getting the better of Team Liquid. They lost a player by the looks of things, so that's unfortunate. But yeah. Yeah, look, I don't know. I mean, I just hope they do well. I think that's the takeaway for me. The thing is, you know, maybe I have, like, always this negative outlook on teams coming from my regions, because Australia and to a greater extent, like to a greater region, APAC in general, and I'm not just talking about PUBG here either, have never been, like, the best. You know, you look at any esport in the world, it's Korea, it's China, maybe it's Europe. You know, North America has their runs in certain instances as well. But, like, when was the last time? Maybe outside of Dota. I don't really follow Dota, but I know that's really big in SCA, and they've had some good representation. But, like, outside of that, when has the APAC region or ANZ been the best team in the world? So I always go into these international events going, you know, I'm just happy that they're there, and I'm not expecting the world from them. So when someone does something like what Atletico did, that's a massive, massive deal. So I think maybe that's why I always sort of come in with my my reservations and with my expectations checked a little bit to events like this.
I feel you. I totally understand that. I mean, I know that, like, working some, not as many as you, but some, you know, like Southeast Asia events from time to time. Like, yeah, the whole talk is like, you know, talking with some of the other SEA casters and stuff. It's like, you know, outside of certain small enclaves, like a lot of the teams and players don't take it as seriously, maybe, and there's a lot of kind of, for lack of a better word, clowning like that goes on, and
Yeah.
you know, it hasn't, you know, outside of certain, like, you know, teams and players here and there, it hasn't really found its footing as a, how do I say this, it's not taken as seriously as it is in Korea, China, EU, and yeah.
But nothing ever is, though. That's the thing. Like, I think that's a big difference between those regions. And I think, to be honest, it comes down to infrastructure in general. You know, like the whole ecosystem is so much stronger in Korea and China. Like China, because there's just so many people. There's so much money around that, you know, you can make anything really work. Like, you can throw out these random little tournaments and there's going to still be 100,000, 200,000, 1 million people watching. But if you do that in Australia, you might be lucky to get 500 people watching. So where's the return? And at which point, why bother doing it? And at which point, there's less practice, there's less teams invested, there's less people invested, and the whole, it sort of all ties in together, obviously, to create that same problem, that the industry is just so much smaller and less well supported than it is in some other regions.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. But I feel as time goes on, like, in my opinion, like, I think Australia seems to have a pretty good infrastructure despite those problems. Like, it seems to have ANZ, you know, like you call it ANZ. It seems to have, like, a lot of, you know, players or teams that are quite serious about it and, you know, show up and at least, you know, perform. Maybe they don't win, like you said, but they perform on these big events.
I think it helps that, like, Australia in general is a fairly wealthy country, you know, so that sort of helps the ecosystem, like, actually exist in a sense, and you get away with it in that respect, and so that might be part of the reason. But yeah, I mean, if we're talking about Australian teams in particular, you know, some of the best results that we've ever had have been, like, you know, we've made it to the main stage of a major in CSGO, or made it out of, like, play-ins in Worlds or something like that. So it's never like, we've actually gone on to win. That's why, to me, that Atletico result is like so special, because that's like the first time that I've been involved in esports, since I've been involved in esports rather, that a team from Australia and New Zealand genuinely looked like they would win a tier 1 international competition, which they obviously didn't end up doing. But the fact that they were even that close kind of was like, wow, because it doesn't normally happen. You don't normally get that close.
That's true. I was really excited about that. I mean, I was really hoping that Atletico would pull it out there, but yeah, it's just so close. That last game, like you said earlier, so close but so far. But yeah, I mean, I think there's, in this event, look, again, APAC, we're not, you know, we talked about it a lot. We don't have super high expectations, but I think, again, Fury, I think, has, in my book, the best chance. They're the most consistent team.
Yep, Fury definitely. I mean, Buriram and Outside Shot, I think if they, I don't know, if they come back to, like, mid-2021 form or you know, early 2021 form, they could definitely make something interesting happen. Like, they're a really solid team if things are going their way. So for me, that's definitely a prospect. So yeah, I mean, obviously most people are going to say Fury and Buriram out of the APAC region. I don't think that there's too much to go past in that respect. The other teams are kind of here and they're happy to be here, and hopefully they get some good experience and they do something similar to what Daytrade was able to do at PGIS. But it's definitely not the expectation.
Right.
Whereas for a lot of the regions, you know, you look at, you know, the number one for APAC might be Buriram and Fury, and you think, yeah, they might have a chance. Whereas you look at the number one for Asia in Pero, you look at the number one in Europe in Virtus Pro, and you say, well, these are two teams that could realistically win the whole thing. Whereas
exactly.
you don't really utter that same thing when you're talking about teams from the APAC region.
So let's look at the game for a second. What did you think here? Heroic held their fire. I'm actually not so sure I agree with what they did. I think they should have like taken the fight.
Yeah.
You know, when they had whoever it was, the first player from 17 that rolled up to this. I mean, they
Or
still
did
might
they
win,
know-
but yeah.
Did they know that it was? I wasn't really paying a huge amount of attention, honestly. Sometimes when I go on a tangent, I'm just sitting there talking and not paying attention. But did
That's
they
fine.
know that 17 was only 2 players?
Most teams usually know what the situation is for like who, what, where, and why. Like, I have been told by more than one player and coach that if you're not keeping track of the kill feed perfectly, you're fucking up. So,
Yeah.
so I don't know if they knew it was exactly 17. You're right; they might have been waiting. So that's a good point. Maybe they don't know that it is 17. That because once they know it's 17, then
They
know
might be
there's only 2.
waiting to see if there's another head pop up somewhere or something like that, and then
Yeah.
you know you overestimate your abilities. You kind of cook yourself a little bit. But to be fair, like even in that situation, maybe just getting one kill point is kind of good as a result because as you can see, they're sort of up the creek. They don't have any options. Like Archangel Predator was behind them. Not that they were to know, but they're down to a duo. They've still got 20 minutes left in this game, or maybe not quite that much, but they're not going to walk away with a win, realistically speaking. So maybe just taking those kill points is the play.
I think you bring up a really good point that this format brings up very different questions about when you pull the trigger or not, like both literally and like metaphorically. Like when do you decide to hit some take a fight? What percentage odds? Like Korean teams are always talking to me about this. Like I asked them when will you third party a fight? They're like, if we think we have a 70% chance to win the fight, like then we'll take the fight. Like that's how they calculate it in their head. They're like, do we have like a really good percentage chance to win this? Then we'll go for it. And I think the calculation changes in the super format, right? Versus
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And that's kind of what this is a discussion that's been done to death, I'm sure. But that's why I think the super format is superior. It benefits you to take the more aggressive option in some instances. Whereas if you are a solo in the chicken dinner format, well, what can you possibly gain out of any situation, really? Like you can stay alive until second place, but you don't get first. What was even the point? You
Right.
know, like you may as well, I guess, as a solo at that point, maybe try to take a fight to a team that's got like 4 players that is a strong team that's in the top end of the lobby that's going to be really competing for a top placing, and you might try to ruin their game. I guess that's probably the one thing you could do in that chicken format as a solo or as a duo. Whereas, at least as in the super format, you have incentive to continue to play the game, to try to continue to keep that scoreboard ticking over for yourself. And yeah,
I love what you're saying. I'm right there with you. I think it's something that it was hard to for a time when I was casting the chicken format. Like the middle of the games just became frustrating because any fight that happened, I was like, well, there's a 90% chance this fight just doesn't fucking matter. This whole fight just ruined both teams' chances of doing anything in this game, and the result of this fight happening is that both these teams are now, yeah, they get some kill points and that can matter for the tiebreakers, but again, if you're not getting those chickens, then those kill points, you just throw them right in the dumpster.
see what Beamy can do. He is that solo, isn't he? So
Yeah.
every point matters at this point in time, and given the fact that Heroic have done so well so far in this scrim, if we're going to take this as, if we're going to take this in the context of it actually being a result that actually matters, because, it is a scrim, so it doesn't necessarily. But, here he could potentially do a fair bit of work as a solo, which is going to be quite fun to sort of see what he can get done and, how he's going to be able to transition that into the likes of PGC. Any teams in this lobby that have disappointed you so far?
Yeah, I mean, I've been disappointed with Ghibli. Like, they play good. Like, not necessarily here today, but overall. Like, recently, I don't feel like Ghibli has been as strong as they, like, it seems like they've lost a lot of their confidence and kind of that swagger they had when they got second at PCS4. I mean, MCG, it's hard to say because they're... Ooh, Beamy, what are you doing here? I think he's about to die. But I think MCG is hard for me. Like, every time I think about MCG, this team right here, because, like, Summer was at the last PGC. He was on a team called VC Gaming, and he was their shot caller, and then he moved over to MCG, and now he's the shot caller. But these guys are like, they're so quiet. I always think they're like not doing well at a tournament, and then I go look at the results, and they're always like top 5. I'm like, oh, right. They're actually really good, but they're very, very quiet. So like, this is a team you have to kind of temper your expectations in terms of like fragging out. They don't, but they're very, very smart. They're very disciplined.
I mean, that's going to be definitely the case for a lot of teams, isn't it? When we're talking about PGC, I feel like there's going to be, I don't know, like obviously Team Liquid back in PGC 2019, this was a whole discussion point where they were like so good and everyone is expecting them to do really well, and there's going to be a few teams like that are just not going to perform. You know, and you're going to say, well, these guys are so good. They're so mechanically skilled. They're so smart. They play really well. They've been consistent. And then just what happened? So I'm wondering like who those teams are going to end up being. And then obviously on the other side of that coin, you have the teams that you didn't really expect too much from. And they're going to sort of walk away with some good results. What's interesting for me so far is that a couple of these teams that have been, you know, just added into this scrim that are not PGC teams have actually been doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Like I know you mentioned MTech, obviously being a relatively reasonable team. Was it NIF that won the last game? I
think it was
remember,
NIF,
but,
yeah.
Yeah. So like, you know, what's going on there?
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of these like teams, well, frankly, NIF got gifted a bunch of circles. Like that, like any team that's at least like the tier 2 quality of PUBG esports, especially in Korea, is going to be good enough to lock a compound down and win 95% of their games. But I think here they're just you know, they're playing smart. You know, Nine's just kind of taking their time, utilizing the cover, the ground that's given to them, letting the other teams kind of beat each other up, and just, you know, moving through here. Now Summer's about to end this person's round, but whipped it a bit. No, able to recover.
He's fine.
But I mean, Koreans, like the methodology of how they approach PUBG is very, I would say, discipline would be the biggest word I'd use. Is they have like a very kind of try to eke out every advantage they can mindset. You know, just like in League of Legends, why they've like dominated League of Legends, right? Like it's a very like structured format. But what they struggle with is coming up against like Chinese teams and even APAC teams and NA teams and stuff that play.
Just throw a spanner in the works.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's it goes back to an analogy that I sometimes like to bring up on the PCS broadcasts, is that the greatest swordsman in the world need not fear the second best swordsman, but he need fear the guy that's only just picked up a sword, because the guy that's only just picked up a sword is going to do something just so out there that you're not expecting it at all. Whereas if you're playing against someone, or in this instance, having a sword fight with someone that knows what they should be doing in a sword fight, you generally know what to expect, you know how to counter it and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's the other beauty of coming through to an international tournament where there's 32 teams, is that not every single team is going to know what every other single team is going to be able to do, and what their limits are going to be, and how they're going to rotate, how they're going to play, where they're going to drop, you know, what play style they're going to like to go for. And you get this sort of amalgamation of different styles and regions and teams, and you just sort of throw it into a blender and see what comes out.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love the way you're saying that about the swordsman. I like that analogy a lot, because I think it has been tough for some of the teams that aren't Gen G. You know, like Gen G sets the expectations really high for Korea, because I think they're very adaptable. Their play style is kind of forgiving to different types of lobbies, different types of teams. But a lot of the Korean teams don't have that. They have like one specific style and they just stick to it, and it either works or it doesn't. And you'll see that event to event even, where their style will work great one event, and then the next event it's just completely, you know, falls flat. So I don't know. MTech is one of those teams, actually. So since we're watching them here for a second, this is a team that plays extremely passive. They play for late game. They aren't interested in taking fights unless they absolutely have to, typically. They've been a little bit more aggressive on the map here because they have brought over Nefiex, who is widely known as one of the more aggressive players in Korea. So that's kind of an interesting difference we're seeing here, but I don't know. I have a lot of questions about Korean teams and players right now that aren't Gen G. I have concerns that there is, when it comes up going up against NA and EU teams in particular, that they're not going to be able to hang.
That's interesting.
I could be wrong.
I mean, again, like I'm not super knowledgeable as far as Asia is concerned, but it seems to me like there has been a bit of an exodus of a lot of the players that we would have seen from years past, at least from Korea in particular. So I guess is that sort of where some of that
Yeah.
is coming from, in a way? Like, you've obviously got that core of Gen G with Pio, Esther, and Onyx, but what else really is there for Korea right now? Like, I guess E36, you've got
They're a
Indigo
Japanese
and
org, right?
Starlord?
Yeah,
They're a Japanese org, but
that is
with two Korean players,
two
right?
Korean players, yeah. And Indigo did play at the last PGC. He was on that Entis Force team, but that team, like, when they moved to Damwon Kia, kind of started to fall apart as time went on.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Sungjong, the genius play caller for that team, retired. So now you lose like one of the best play callers, which those are the hardest thing to find in PUBG, is good play callers. Any team will tell you that.
I mean, what about Danawa, right? Because
now they're a different
this
story.
Looks like a pretty exciting prospect, I want to say. Like, I think, at least from what I've seen, only in Season 4 and Season 5 of PCS, so maybe not a huge amount of experience as individuals, but the results are there.
You know what, you make a really good point. I kind of forgotten about them since they're not in this lobby today, and I shouldn't, because they're really, really damn good. They're very talented. Soul and Salute are the two players to watch for there that are just absolutely cracked out of their minds, like mechanically just unbelievable players. They've had a little bit of struggle as of late, like kind of trying to find an identity. Sometimes the shot calling, in my opinion, has been a little off, and when they lost Jeff Laka to MTech here, he's actually right here in this MTech team now. They seem to have lost a little bit of their steam in terms of their like raw firepower, but they're so good that I think Donawa's going to be in that grand finals more likely than not. I don't think they're going to win, but you never know. I mean, they're really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, watching MTech right now makes me wonder, like, maybe they're a team that could hang in PGC. I guess it's unfortunate that there's only so many slots, though, right?
They only missed by like one place or something.
There's going to be so many teams where you're like, oh, what if this... how I was saying, what if Daytrade would have made it from APAC? You probably would say the same thing for these guys from Asia and from Europe and North America. I'm sure there's any number of teams that we could just put into any of these lobbies and they would still perform, and they might even have a better chance than some of the other teams. And I guess we'll just never know. And that's just sometimes the nature of competitive esports, is that if you miss out, then there's not really much to be said, is there?
Right.
I mean, history is written by the winners, so they say.
Yes, exactly. And I guess, yeah, I've been kind of, I've been watching, Korea more than anybody, of course, and watching how they've struggled against China just over the last 2 years, like literally not even being able to take a PCS off of them, has made me, has tempered my expectations. Maybe too much. I think there's still some really damn good players out here. This guy right here, 1111, is, we don't know who this is, so when Korean players are trying out on different teams, they'll hide their identity.
Right.
And so, I don't know.
It's all a bit of a political game, right?
Right. I could maybe guess, but I don't know for sure.
Nah, no need. I mean, they're not even in PGC, so I guess it doesn't pay to necessarily go too far down that rabbit hole. But he seems to be doing all right for himself. He's been given the Grover as well, so... are we going to see another team that isn't actually in PGC win another one of these scrims? It looks like we might, because MCG are just down to that one player, and it's not looking pretty good. It's looking pretty dunzo.
Woo! I don't know. Oh, nope, the Blue's going to get him. Yeah.
Well, there you go, MTech.
All right.
That's 2 out of 3 games so far, won by the quote-unquote substitute teams.
Yeah. That just goes to show you, PUBG's a tough one. There's a lot of really good teams and players out there. But MTech, I'm not too surprised that they can win games in this lobby. Like, I think they were like 1 spot away from, or 2 spots away from qualifying for this event. They always are doing decent. Like, they're always middle of the pack. They're never going to, like, really blow the doors off you. But this is a different looking MTech. I should clarify this. With
13 kills, definitely looks pretty good to me.
Yeah. So NefiX, like a guy who's had kind of a bad rap because he's not much of a team player, has been kind of the scuttlebutt about him. Hwarang is a really, really talented guy who hasn't had a chance to play outside of Korea, really, ever. And he's just one of those players that's kind of hanging out in the wings. Like, you know how every region has this guy who's like really good but never finds like the team that
Hasn't had the opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think that Xenox is here, by the way.
Is he?
So we might be able to get him in if you want. Also, I wouldn't mind BRBing.
Okay. Yeah.
If you want to take a break.
Let's take a break and get Xenox in, and then
Okay.
we'll do that. That sounds good. Okay. We will be back, chat, in just a minute. Let me get my break screen ready. Okay, we'll be back soon.
Too obsessed and I've got nothing left, and I'm not quite there yet, but those words they'll regret, cause I've got something left and I'm not giving in. I will not let them win, I won't stop till the end, no.
Give me the reasons to doubt, try to keep me down, but I'll put the flame out, you can't get to me. Throw your sticks and your stones, go break all of my bones, you won't ache my soul, you can't get to me. And there is no barricade that I can tear away. Shoot me down, but fire away, away. But I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight. But I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight. Push me down to the ground. What goes around comes around. You won't put the flame out. You can't get to me. Say what you wanna say. Go take it all away. But I'm here to stay. No, you can't get to me. And there is no barricade that I can tear away. Shoot me down, but fire away, away. But I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight.
Okay, we're back. Just a reminder, 5-minute delay, everybody. Look who joined us. Look who
Hello.
got himself all looking spiffy and nice there. How was your dinner? Was it good?
It was actually really good.
Yeah?
I was able to go outside for the first time in what feels like 2 years. Hence, I still haven't even had time for a haircut. I'm getting that next week. Actually, I'm very excited to have that booked in. Got it on the calendar.
Ooh.
Most people don't generally do that, but you know, it's been a rough time for those who don't know in good old Australia, especially in Melbourne. Jordan's the lucky man over in Sydney, and he's Dacia. Is it a Dacia?
It's a Dacia, yeah. It's a nice white Dacia. I can't believe you didn't bring your US. I don't know where.
Mate, you stitched me up. I didn't know we were bringing our cars to work.
You must have
today.
parked it in the right spot for the camera. That's fine.
Look how unprofessional I am. I've completely got my cord in front of me. This is how we do it in scrims.
Doesn't matter here. This is
Yep.
all just. I mean, look, we've had 2 teams that aren't even playing in PGC win because they had to fill in and then they won games. So you're not missing out on too much, I feel like. All
I
right,
saw the last game. I was watching a little bit of the last game, and it was like, what, 5 teams alive at the 22-minute mark or something, and I was a little bit concerned.
It's
Not gonna lie.
there's a lot of contention for drop spots and figuring everybody out and everything. But yeah, there's 3 of us here, so yeah, okay. So Zen, Jordan and I have been talking a lot, so this is your opportunity to. What are your thoughts? What are your APAC expectations coming into this event?
Well, firstly, I just got to say off the bat, I think Fury's got a lot of X factor coming into this event.
You're a fucking shitter.
No, seriously,
Yeah,
I backed him in. I can't believe Jordan's dogged the boys. Nah, look, honestly, the easy answer is Fury and Buriram, right? Like, everyone's just going to say that. And I'm going to say that as well. I don't really rate the rest too much. I actually, low-key, I don't know how much you saw of APAC paper, but Unicorn Phoenix was actually going to be a team I had my eyes on in causing a bit of mischief here. So I'm a little disappointed that they obviously didn't get to go.
Yeah.
The other team, if I had to name a third, would be Baonam United. Very, very solid team. They don't necessarily play the sort of conventional APAC way. A little bit more structured, a little bit more methodical, hold their positions, a bit more defensive in their approach. So I think they're a team that can actually shape up pretty well.
The only thing I have there for you to question, because we talked about this a little bit with regard to BN United, is that if we're going back to the super format, does that change your opinion a little bit?
Not necessarily. I mean, you're still going to get placement points, right? Also, they did get a lot of kill points. I think there's a misconception, and maybe it's just the really bad casters in the APAC region.
Maybe.
Oops.
So that's not.
Sorry. Give me your thought again. Finish your thought. You said like, what's the misconception? I heard misconception, then I hit a wrong button. My bad.
The
My
misconception is that Baonam United don't find a lot of kills, or they're not an aggressive team, and therefore, as Jordan's maybe pointing out, under the super rule set, they can't rely on getting chicken dinners, which is something they actually did a lot of.
They did a lot.
But they are a team that actually does find kills, especially at late circle situations. So I think they'll be a good team as well. Basically, Buriram, Fury, and Baonam United. I think for obviously Game Home, I mean, they're playing with 2 subs. AAP is a good team. I just don't think they're a great team. And Attack all around, I mean, I'm actually surprised they're even here, to be completely honest.
I'm not too far off on my opinion of Attack all around, if I'm being completely honest.
They're a really good team with some good players that just never seem to live up to expectations, which is actually somewhat of Game Home's philosophy as well. Even without the subs, you know, when they had Godnew, when they had Clories, this was a team that dominated in Vietnam, right? And then they would come to PCS APAC, and it was just poor finish after poor finish. I mean, I think PCS 4, they were like second last. Or something crazy.
15th in PCS 4.
So, and then it was like 7th or something in PCS 5, and yeah, and that was with their core roster as well. But I'm excited to just sit back and watch some PUBG tonight, get involved, have a bit of a yarn.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry if there's a few tech issues here real quick. I was just trying to get a few things set up. I think I'm pretty much agreeing with you guys on 100% across the board on the APAC stuff. I basically had a pretty similar read. I am really sad about Unicorn Phoenix. Like, I thought that was a team that maybe, like, coming into an event with the super points coming back, like, might be able to pop off a bit and have some strong performances. But yeah, because of the visa issues, well, we're back to just being sad about Vietnam and their ability to get to international events.
It's weird
Yeah.
though, because like some teams were totally fine. Like BN United, all 4 of their players managed to make it, I think. And then was it MS Shamburi that didn't at all make it? And then Game Home, 2 of their players couldn't make it. It's just like, what is going on? I'm actually honestly a little bit surprised that Archangel Predator had no issues coming from the Philippines. I know that that in the past, you know, we look at Valorant, for example, when Bren tried to go over to Berlin, they were completely cooked. But I guess, I mean, it might be different going to Korea versus going to Berlin for the Philippines. But you know,
Isn't one of the players late though from AAP? Isn't
yeah, Mad Dog is
Mad
actually, I
Dog,
think, yeah.
But they could
Yeah.
all get here eventually, right? Like that's.
Yep. Well, I mean, is he late, or is it more so that does he have to do quarantine in Korea? Is that still a thing?
You have to, yeah. You have to do.
Like, so he might get there in time in theory, but just can't actually play
Play.
because he's gonna have to be in quarantine.
Come on, Luke. Come on, Luke. You win these,
got it.
Luke.
Easy, dude.
I mean, we saw Luke almost 1v4 in the first game.
Oh, oh, he's cracked. He's actually just goaded on the sticks.
Dude, he's
My
been
boy.
fucking wrecking people today. Every time I feel like we look at Luke Jordan, he's just been like getting a 1v2 or a 1v3.
He's actually been chatting today. I don't know if we were to go into the individual stats of this lobby. I think Luke 12 might actually be the guy at the top in terms of like damage dealt and kills and whatever.
I think you're
pretty
right.
crazy.
He's been
And
really
TSM's
good.
had 2 pretty good games. Was it 2 pretty good games and 1 pretty bad game? At least 2 games where they fragged out a little bit, and 1 game where they kind of got domed early on. But you know, live by the sword, die by the sword.
Well, look at Noadre here. He's in very classic Buriram fashion, tries to get a little bit too aggressive there. And I mean, this is a scrim. I don't take much out of, especially when all 3 of your teammates are down in a scrim and you might get one. Not even going to happen. But TSM has been, in terms of their, like, yeah, the only match, Jordan, right, that they had a problem with was the one where they got stuck on that beachfront or that rock ledge.
Yeah.
On the northern circle. So other than that, it's been really good for TSM.
Yeah. Which is quite exciting, you know. I'm a fan of TSM. I'm a fan of Luke 12, so I'm hoping to see that kind of continue.
You guys can kind of, by proxy, root for TSM and Sonics,
Correct.
right? Like,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like once all the APAC teams get knocked out, then we'll be Sonics and TSM number 1 fan.
Screw that. Mate, Sonics and TSM all the way, and Fury, and the rest of APAC. Basically, everyone except those teams sucks.
You're actually the most biased. Now I know why whenever we're casting PCS, people are saying bias cast or bias casts in Twitch chat. It's actually not me, Zenov. It's you.
There was actually one time, Paper, where someone thought Jordan was biased to the Philippines.
Yeah.
And
What?
I had to sit back and wonder where they got that connection from. I could never figure it out. Obviously, we get the old standard. All they do is talk about Fury. All they do is talk about Atletico, which was back in the. It started as Atletico, then now it's Fury. But I think we do a good job of bringing a lot of attention to all of the APAC teams.
yeah, you guys do
That's all
great.
I'm saying.
I don't think there's much when I watch you guys cast. Like I don't think there's much bias. Like, I mean, you guys do a pretty good job of covering, especially in this with the rise of these Vietnamese teams. I thought you guys did quite good with it. I mean, it was surprising. Like last year, right, was like all Fury, Buriram, and Thai teams, right? Like this year was
Divine.
completely different. Divine, that was the other one. Divine, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, I think also for this particular PCS that's gone by as well, Unicorn Phoenix basically stole the spotlight in every sense of the word. So that was definitely a very much big talking point for us. Obviously, a lot of Bound Am United. Didn't have Viram to talk about this time around. And I would actually say we probably didn't even really speak too much about Fury. They went kind of under the radar a little bit in PCS 5 for the most part. So they kind of just got the job done, which was all that they needed to do. But I think for me coming into this, I'm very much keeping an eye on Viram because obviously, as we know, they did not qualify for PCS 5 even after being the PCS 4 champions, which got them the direct invite into PGC. I believe they were the first team to actually get into PGC. So it's a little fun fact. But how are they going to go? They haven't had that sort of like top level continental competition like a lot of the other teams have had for a little while. Obviously, they've had domestic stuff, but I'm keen to see how they sort of bounce back because really they're coming into this event needing to bounce back, strangely enough.
That actually hasn't been super like amazing for them either. Like those domestic tournaments, you know, the Thailand tournaments, they've been sitting like middle of the pack, 7th, 5th, 8th, 6th. I'm looking at some of the results that they've had, and this is not even in like continental events. These are in like Thailand series and that kind of thing. So that does have me a little bit concerned for their prospects here at PGC. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like maybe some of that magic is lost. I guess that's the one of the things that it's like kind of hard to comment on though, because obviously I haven't watched any of those local Thailand tournaments. Haven't seen much from Buriram since PCS4, so I can only go on what's kind of sitting there in terms of the actual results that I can see on Liquipedia, and they don't look amazing. But you know, maybe there's something else that's affecting them, or maybe they're just going to come in here at PGC and sort of step up another level, which is kind of what you have to do. You know, I think you have to hit a different level at PGC if you're going to want to win.
I think these guys can. I mean, we've seen it. It's just a matter of, like, for me, again, I talked about it earlier with Buriram, is just, you know, can they adapt fast enough? Because it seemed like at PGIS, it took them a while to really kind of get their feet underneath them, to start to, like, compete with the other teams, and then just kind of they had to rely on their natural ability. I mean, like, you know, that Canaxi 1v8 will stand the test of time in PUBG Esports. Like, we'll always talk about that. That'll be one of those moments that I'll never forget. But outside of that, they struggled to get, like, decent, you know, finishes. They struggled to get wins in the qualifying weeks.
They struggled to get wins even in some of the PCS tournaments. You know, it's, I guess in the most chicken format, inevitably they did manage to sort of pull through in PCS4. But I remember, like, wins were never the thing that we said like Buriram was really super famous for. They were super famous for having those massive games where they would get like 15 plus kills, and you'd just be like, wow, that was pretty crazy.
Sweep edge, push in, wipe out every team, get the win. Yeah.
Yep.
that
I mean,
was them in a
maybe it's
nutshell.
not fair to say that they struggled to get wins, I guess, but like it wasn't like their defining characteristic. So when chicken dinner format came through, it was kind of like, I don't know, feels bad.
Purdy, why are you in chat? You're playing in the game.
He might not be playing in the game soon.
Oh, yeah, that's actually maybe, or maybe it's somebody who's faking his name. I don't know. But I was like, wait a minute, you're in. Wait a second. All right, well, this one's a pretty interesting circle here, at least.
I'm pretty sure it's not the real Purdy, because there's a
Okay.
lot of Russian in this guy's Twitch profile.
Okay, then he's not the real Purdy. Okay. I'm like, Flood, I understand. He's not playing here, but Purdy is definitely playing right now. So, okay. Well, I think it's been a kind of a weird lobby today. I mean, it's been, Zen, if you're just to like catch you up, it's just been a lot of teams fighting for stuff early, and then, you know, Heroics played good today. We've seen that. And then a couple, you know, of these not B tier, well, a couple B tier Korean teams, and then MTech, who's an A tier Korean team, have been winning.
Yeah, but let's be real, mate. B tier Korean teams are A tier teams elsewhere, so let's be real. No, look, it's the nature of PUBG scrims, though, right? Because in a lot of other titles, if you go into a 5v5 scrim, it's a little bit more contained to the game and how it sort of plays out. PUBG is very different. You might have one team that's obviously wanting to get their loot location, another team that wants to affect their rotation going into certain zones, or maybe even wanting to actually play for the late game, right? So playing super conservatively early on, and then practicing their late game decision making and team play in this kind of lobby environment. So when you've got 16 teams, in some cases it goes up to 18, 20 even in some cases. There's just so many teams doing different things, and it makes it for a very chaotic environment. Obviously, when it comes to game day, everyone's got that same mindset, and that's where you get a little bit more of that structure. So scrims are not really to be taken seriously in any sense of the word. It's all for different reasons, and teams will have their different reasons.
That's a really good point. Yeah, everybody's looking to try something different, figure things out, and again, I go back to like Pero's like not taking their scrims very seriously from what I've seen and what I've heard, and so who knows, you know, what's going through the minds of these players and stuff. Like, I think the things that do to look for are, you know, speaking of Purdy, are like, are they winning their drop spot fights? Because that's kind of important. right?
Mm.
And then just to me, like Jordan and I were talking about, how they look mechanically. Like, does their recoil control look good? Are they, hitting their shots? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, and obviously then, as I said, it creates that environment, and it's then very difficult to take a lot from it. In no way would you ever be walking away from scrims and be like, oh my god, we dominated tonight, guys. We're a shoo-in for PGC, and then on the first day you just get slapped silly because suddenly everyone's actually trying again. You need to go in with basically the mindset of what do you want to learn, what do you want to train from this, either the entire night, or you set it in blocks. Like if you're playing a 6-block scrim, maybe you go 2, 2, and 2, doing 3 different things, or do you spend an entire night trying something? Maybe you just even shoot the shit on one of the nights and you think, screw it, let's just go play around. Let's go for a bit of drive here, like maybe Team Liquid or something.
just see if you can check out the scenery on Miramar.
Yeah.
There's always a new crevice I'm finding every time I play Miramar. There's always some little spot that I didn't know about because there's so much damn
Is that why it's your
surface
favorite
area.
map?
Yeah, there's so much damn surface area on this map.
Wait,
It's like-
is Miramar really your favorite map?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Oh no. Oh no. What are we gonna have to do with this guy? I can't believe that.
It is my favorite.
I used to like you. I don't know. I'm probably not gonna cast last game at this point.
Just get out of here with Jordan when he leaves this. Leave me out to dry. Ooh, look at these tier 2 Korean teams going at it.
Well, it's nice to actually see two
Yeah.
two of the tier 2 Korean teams going at one another than compared to them essentially just sending it at one of the other teams, because SNGE, man, I'm not even going to try and pronounce their actual name, but they've been fighting a lot. Like every single game I watch them just like push a building or get pushed, or I don't know what it is about them, but they seem to be like a magnet for other teams right now in this lobby. They're getting a lot of action.
Well, I guess if you're going to be gifted a chance to play against a PGC, caliber lobby, then, just go for it. I guess, see if you could get a few highlight reels for the old YouTube.
Go hard or
Do you
go
think-
home.
Yeah.
Do you think, Paper, that these tier 2 Korean teams come into this actually try harding?
Oh, I would. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I would try hard. I would, because, think about it this way. If you could have a good performance in some of these scrims, maybe there's some, org on the periphery that's looking for a team, or who knows, you know what I mean? You might be able to just scoop something up out of what shouldn't matter much, because what you were saying before absolutely is correct, but I think they're at least going to go for big plays. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously have less to gain by coming in and playing the conventional scrim approach. I don't see why you wouldn't want to just come in and mix it with the big dogs, I guess, and actually, flex your muscles a little bit and have a bit of fun and actually try and compete.
Kind of curious if Pure Boy was going to try anything here, if he's actually going to rat forever. I think he's just going to
In a
rat.
stream, yeah. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Right? Meanwhile, Renba's I think they know he's out here, so I think Renba's fishing for him. Yeah, he definitely. Well, maybe not. Maybe Renba. I think he knows. Well, so what about What about Tago? What do you guys think? Are we approaching the day where Tago is a map next year?
Nah.
Well, I mean, given the track record of adding new maps into esports, I would be hesitant in a sense, but I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world. Even when Sanok came in, I was kind of like, well, it's kind of nice to see a new map. I'm not against the idea of adding new maps to the competitive pool. It's just that it has to be in a position where people are kind of happy to play it, which obviously wasn't the case for Sanok. So if I'm being honest, I'd probably like to see it. I'd probably like to see another map come into the pool, because it's been Erangel and Miramar for so long.
Right.
I mean, it's not that it's getting stale or anything like that, because there's obviously new teams, the maps change, etc., whatever. But I don't think that there's any disadvantage to adding a new map, unless it's a ship.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to see, and obviously you being a Miramar fan, Paper, but I'd actually like to see Miramar get a bit of a touch-up visually. Maybe just then you also tweak a few little spots here and there that maybe get somewhat ignored. I'd like to see a little bit more edge play, but yeah, I'd probably like to see Miramar just get perfected that little bit more. I mean, a lot of people like it. Obviously, you like it, but
Yeah.
a third map,
Well,
if you
the
do
argument as well is like, is it a third map or is it you take one of the maps out and put
no.
it in?
I think third map. I think you just add a third
Yeah.
map. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it, you got to go third map, and then you got to go 6 matches a day, two.
Correct. Yeah. That's what I was going to say as well. I think I would have to move to a situation where you had 6 maps a day rather than, when we had 5, it was kind of okay because it was like, well, Sanok's going to be the map that doesn't get as much play anyway. So you have the 2, and then you have Sanok in the middle, and you have another 2. I felt like that worked, and maybe that's not the worst thing in the world for the first season or first 6 months of putting a new map in. But I think ultimately the ideal world is if you do have 3 maps, you have a 2-2-2 split.
I agree. And I think, in general, that's the scuttlebutt that I'm hearing, is that 6 maps a day is likely to be, what we're going to see often. Just like we had right? We saw it in PCS all year, right? Everybody was 6 maps a day. So I think that's likely to be the continued format. So yeah, I think I wouldn't be too surprised if we get Tego in the competitive seed. As a map.
Is this leaks with paper?
No, I'm not leaking anything yet. This is me.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you also have to look at it in the context of what are the other battle royales that are going around at the moment that are potentially vying for position with PUBG, and I know Apex Legends just released a new map, and that's a discussion point to go into their competitive circuits as well. Fortnite, although that's a little bit more of a different kind of game, that map constantly changes as well. So you may as well be having a new map every 2 to 3 months. So it's definitely something that other battle royales are doing.
Well, here's what I want. I want dynamic maps. So I want every event we come into, there's a new map, and everybody has to learn that map for that event.
Oh my god, paper.
I know.
Wait, are you talking about, when you say dynamic map, are you saying you want Erangel to change?
Generated. Yeah. Well, I mean,
they're going to drop
you
a
want to be
nuke in the middle
by the players?
yeah, I do.
Well, what's generally best for players
never
isn't
work.
always necessarily best for viewers. That's the thing. That's why, to be honest, Sanok was always kind of fun to watch because it was just craziness. At least in my opinion, it was kind of fun to watch, but everyone hated playing it.
Yeah. Sanok is, I liked Sanok for a while, but it got pretty old pretty fast for me as a viewer. At the beginning, I was like, this is awesome, this is so fun, and there were a couple teams that were really good, and I was like, yeah. And then I was like, oh no, this is actually just a clown fiesta every time. Eventually, it just,
Me and Pyro were the Sandhawk Kings of PGC 2019. We got a lot of the Sandhawk games,
You
and
did.
Casting that particular map compared to Erangel and Miramar, it's so
You
noticeable.
just never stop talking.
It's just pure chaos for 25 minutes. It's not a competitive map, and I'm glad it's no longer in the pool. Tago, yeah, it's fine, I guess. I could see it obviously working in the future, and I wouldn't be opposed to re-adding a third map, but I've been pretty happy with just obviously Erangel and Miramar.
yeah.
By the way, AAP is going to win this game here.
I think they will. I think you brought them the luck.
Yeah.
Ooh, those are some good shots here from Mad Dog. All right,
Maybe all they needed was an APAC believer watching.
I want to get your opinion on some of the members of AAP, because I have thoughts, but I'm not sure I'm totally on point or on base with them. I think Mad Dog and CJ are really quite good, in terms of their mechanical ability.
Yeah, they're actually all very good evenly. I don't have the stats in front of me. I could probably get up the Bloody Wire website or whatever and get the stats and everything and look like a magician. On face value, though, I'll say this is all 4 of them are pretty equal contribution players. Carbs and Elgin bots are very good, very skilled. They can frag out. It's a very solid team, and that's what makes them a good team, right? Jokingly here, Jordan, mentioning X Factor and all of that earlier on when I came in. They actually probably don't have that, right? They don't have that superstar on the team that's going to go and get them 8 kills or whatever. But as a collective, you can actually see it. I think they're all on 2 kills, right? They're all going to contribute evenly, and that's what makes them a very solid team. Yeah, look at that, 2, 2, 2, and 3. So, yeah, they're a team. They're a team, right? They'll play close to each other. They can obviously split up like any team, but they'll play off of each other really well, and that's what makes them a solid team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I actually always feel like Mad Dog for me has been the one that's kind of stood out. And you mentioned the stats. I'm actually going back and having a look at the stats from PCS5, and he was, quote unquote, the weakest performer of the 4.
That's why
in
stats
terms of,
lie.
the kills and the damage dealt and whatnot. But yeah, to me, he felt like he was the one that kind of stood out. I've always sort of, I don't know what it is, like the eye test, I suppose. His name was the one that sort of pops up into my mind first when I think about Archangel Predator. He's not. He's also the IGL, isn't he, Xenox? I think.
Mate, I would never clue. I'm a play-by-play, but I'll say this: maybe if I had to take a guess out of the four, obviously you've given me one. Is it CJ that's at the top with like the stats with the kills?
From last season it was actually Evil Patrick.
Oh right. Well, there you
Yeah.
go. How about that? Being a team, they've got 5 members that can all contribute evenly, right? Like that's something. Sometimes when a sub comes in, paper, you're like, oh, this sub's like not that great, and this team's weaker. Like whether it's Carbs, whether it's Algin Bots, whether it's Evil Patrick, any of those three in combination with CJ and Mad Dog, like in itself, you've got yourself a core 5 there, right? Like that 5th player is going to be able to come in and contribute.
I think so. I think this team, like, they've impressed me with just. It's been kind of a lot of not exactly the same roster for a while, but you know, I think CJ and Mad Dog and Algin Bots have been around for quite some time, for sure.
I'm pretty certain it's been since Charity Showdown.
Charity Showdown, even. Okay. They've been together for a while. I know that.
Maybe even before that. I mean, it's been a long 2 years. So if I go back to Charity Showdown, because that's when they kind of caught our attention, right? This was obviously, was that mid-2020? They finished 4th, which obviously they came through from rest of SEA. So the Philippines region is not as, big as Vietnam and Thailand, and they pretty much caught our eye. And yeah, it was basically the only difference was they had a player called Killer, and that was the only difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now he's on the Colony. So that was basically the only difference. The rest of it was still CJ, Mad Dog, and Carbs.
Okay. Yeah.
Weird thing for me though for Archangel Predator was like I recall they like disappeared for like a season or two. I felt like
They did.
so that was where it's like they played Charity Showdown. They didn't play PCS 1. They played PCS 2. They didn't play PCS 3. Or if they did play PCS 3, it was like a different name, a different roster. Angel Alliance, I think they were called.
Nope.
But Angel
that was the sister
Alliance.
team.
Yeah, but was it not like one or two of those players? I'm pretty sure it was like.
Oh yeah, you're saying
It might have been CJ and Mad Dog or something playing in Angel
Yes,
Alliance.
actually, you're right. You're actually completely right. So it was Nan, Algin Bots, Evil Patrick, and Mad Dog on Angel Alliance.
Yeah,
You were
yeah.
100%
So it was
right.
like weird where they like split and then they came back together.
Yep.
So it's like kind of hard to get a read on exactly what the timeline was like for them. But yeah, they've sort of always been kicking around. They've always been a pretty decent prospect, considering especially that they're from the Philippines, which is what is most impressive to me.
Yeah, it was in PCS2. It was actually Mamonchi, Killer, CJ, and Carbs. So it's pretty clear back when they had that sister team, I think there was maybe a little bit of rotation between Angel Alliance and Archangel Predator. And obviously, yeah, the crux of these players have basically been almost in every single PCS event, minus maybe 1 or 2, and that's about it. But it wasn't until PCS 4 where they kind of showed back up as Archangel Predator with the confirmed kind of 5. Although they didn't have Carbs at the time, I don't think. It was Nan for PCS 4, but it was Algin Bods, Mad Dog, CJ, Evil Patrick, right? So, and they were amazing in PCS 4, and then backed it up and went one better in PCS 5.
They almost won PCS 5. They could have won PCS 5. I think it was going into that last game. Remember?
Yeah.
We were saying they could have won.
Well, they tied on the prize money standings, 41,000 with Bound Name United.
All right,
They just kind of blew it in week 2.
Yeah. All right, we'll give AAP the love on the Observer here, but I see this is why I bring you guys here because you know the history of these teams like way better than I do. Where is Nan right now? What team is he on a team?
He's a sub for Archangel Predator. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, he's a sub for this team still. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nan. Yeah, you're talking about Nan.
Yeah, Nan. Not.
It's a pity. It's
I
a
wasn't
pretty.
sure if he's the
big
Indian
roster.
flatbread or not. Like.
Well, the thing is, the other thing about Archangel Predator is, like, I actually have no idea sometimes who is their sub and who is their core player because they do seem to just, like, on any given day, rock up with a different 4.
Well, Carbs is not on the team anymore.
But he's here. He's playing. He must be there.
He's the
so...
coach. He's the coach apparently. That's
Yeah.
what I read.
Well, he technically played for Colony in AOC Masters, but that could be like a one-off thing. I will say this, though, he's been on Archangel Predator for 2-something years, right? So there is that connection. In some ways, it's like a 6-man roster. And
Yeah,
all six
exactly.
are actually very, very capable. So it's a really good team. I do want to watch this little ending, though, against Team Liquid. We touched on them a little bit earlier, being just driving around doing nothing. I haven't actually watched the game, besides like Angel Predator and talking about them.
Talking crap. But actually, this is nice to see TL in the top 2 as well, because they've been having a bit of a more difficult day today as well.
Mate,
They might be able to get a win.
TL's had a difficult time internationally for a long time. It's just normal for them.
Look at this little sidestep Mad Dog did to like avoid this fight here. I really like what I'm seeing from Archangel Predator in this fight. They might lose, but I think they're making good decisions.
They got good control of the circle, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, they got 2 players center. TL's kind of going to have to push into them. They have the cover with the Deflate in front of them, so...
I think they lose this fight. It's 3v3. TL eventually is going to get high ground here, push over the ridge, and it depends on CJ probably outflanking towards the left-hand side here. If he can find a knock, then they suddenly in a better spot. Oh, actually, I didn't see Mad Dog's position. Sorry, I'll take that back. He's very pushed up here.
They're low on health. That's the other problem right now for AAP. Like, this cannot be a protracted battle. Nobody has first aid kits except Algin Bots, who's got 5.
Actually, I'll take back what I said. I thought TL were actually going to be ending up in a better position, but Archangel are just going to pinch them. They're just going to put Mad Dog on the left, Algin Bots
Has he
on the
not
right.
seen him?
They'll just intersect and catch them at top here.
I actually thought Mad Dog had a shot there, but either didn't see him or decided not to take the shot.
They're taking this very hesitantly. I mean, this is... Just push!
I think they want to
Do it, Mad Dog!
try to make this as clean as they can. Like, I think this is clearly them, like, making sure that they're well prepared, well practiced. Ooh, no, that's not good.
I hope that they're not just giving them too much respect here. Oh, I don't know about spraying into the smoke like that. Yeah, and that's actually now completely weakened that right-hand side. The other 2 are still playing from down below, so TL's got kind of a high ground. 3v2, they got the advantage. They win it from here. Algin Bots is the player that needed to probably do a bit better there. And Mad Dog needed to go earlier, honestly. He was actually in better position than Algin Bots, a little bit further. He wasn't quite as close by, so less likely to die immediately. Should have played a bit more off that smoke and then really pinched them in, and then have Algin Bots sort of come in behind. But I think Algin Bots eventually gets caught there in a position. Liquid played that well. They didn't get too aggressive. They played off each other. I just think AAP, honestly, that almost seemed like giving TL too much respect. Should have pushed that a little bit more aggressively, wiped them out. But I think, as you said, Paper, they didn't really have a whole lot of health. They definitely had no utility.
Right.
Fun little ending, though. Fun little ending for Team Lobby.
That's good. Team Lobby gets it done. We're they're in the last team to the lobby. I mean, eventually all roads lead to the lobby, but they at least are the last ones there this time.
I actually am a very big Team Liquid fan
Me
for
too.
the League of Legends roster.
Oh, not that. I don't give a shit about that.
Well,
All right.
obviously,
okay,
I'm not a
okay,
massive,
yeah. Okay, why?
not a massive Team Liquid fan for PGC for obvious reasons, but I don't know. I just when I watch a bit of League, I do like Team Liquid. So I've got.
You don't watch the Oceanic League, Xenox?
No. Awful
All right.
bastards there.
That's crazy.
But I got a 17 Team Liquid jersey, so that's nice.
Ooh, there you go. All right, let me transition over real quick to us. Everybody's seen the scoreboard; they know what's up. I've made it very basic here. It's just like cameras and a black screen. Jordan, are you sticking around? Or are you good?
I think I'll bounce because I don't want to like disconnect halfway through a sentence.
That's
I'm getting internet maintenance in 20 minutes, so it could be fine until like 1 a.m., 3 a.m. They give you the window of 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., which is like, well, that's not very useful for me when I'm working overnight, but you know, it is what it is. And then it's like a 20-minute downtime, and it normally happens around like, you know, midnight. So
you ever deal with a tradie that's like, anywhere from 12 to 5 p.m.
Yeah, and then they rock up
at 4:59.
I was going to say they rock up at 6 o'clock. But yeah. I mean, now you've got Xenox to keep you company, so you don't need me anymore. It's fine.
I'm good now. I can get Xenox's trash opinions on.
100%, mate. Hey, look, you know what's interesting, right? I think I had this realization maybe a couple of weeks ago. Me and Jordan were talking about being like Jordan is like a PUBG kind of guy, right? Because like when Jordan started casting PUBG, I was like the PUBG guy in the region, and he wasn't. But we've literally done every single PCS event. By now, Jordan is very much a PUBG guy. So his opinions are completely valid. He's a great caster, great analyst. Everyone should follow him on Twitter at ElfishGuy11. Is it still?
No, just at Elfish Guy now. Yeah.
Just Elvish guy. Look at that. He gets his own
He
Twitter
secured
handle.
it.
I wish I could get that.
Yeah. Apart from the guys that have got Xenox chairs and what is Xenox Lube? That's a thing too.
Oh man.
Xenox Lube, the
Nice.
Xenox
Yeah.
Australia, which sell chairs.
Hit up Xenox Lube for all your PUBG needs for when you're getting fucked.
There you go. You better start up that Darcy. I want to hear like a little engine sound. Have you got like an audio file?
I wish I don't. Though, no.
Look, get a little bit of like smoke bellowing out of the hood there, and just
I could probably make it drive, but I don't know. Hang on, let's see if I can. If I could do this, this is gonna be poggers. All right, are you ready to send us to a break? Paper thin?
Hold on. Let me
I'm
get to
gonna
the next game, and then I'll send us to a break on you driving out.
I'm gonna drive.
Yeah,
I'm gonna drive my car off screen.
You'll ride us into the sunset here. Hold on.
give us a burnout.
All right.
You gotta give me a countdown.
All right. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Brrr.
All right, I'm gonna go to a break. I'll be right back.
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you can make me move. You can make me move. Can make me move. You can make me move. Can make me.
Let me put us back on. All right, we're back. It's just me and Xenox. We kicked Jordan out. He drove off, and he had a car, and we didn't. And,
It did. Yeah.
The best transition in Scrim history, right there, was Jordan just driving out.
Yeah, and maybe now we can, with Jordan gone, we can just focus on the games a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually very keen to have a bit of a proper squiz. I mean, yeah, it's Scrims. What can you really take out of it? But it's still fun. I love watching PUBG. Even after all of these years, I still get excited.
Never gets old. Never gets old.
Never gets old.
I mean, we both casted a lot of PUBG this year, and I never.
Everyone's reacting
I
to
know.
the
I
chat.
know.
I'm
Now
just
I'm
watching
seeing
it,
chat.
little
Now
moment
I'm
delay.
laughing. I was waiting for the lulls. That was me just.
I'd love to do something like that on like a proper broadcast. That's my dream. Front of like 100,000 people, just get a little Darcy going and just driving
take
away.
off.
But yeah, I guess we've both done a lot of PUBG this year.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of PUBG in general over the last 4 years.
Yeah, ever since the beginning. Yeah. You and I are old now. We're old PUBG.
We are. Well, you know what? Like, I feel like there's not a whole lot of new blood when it comes to casters in PUBG. A lot of the old dogs have stuck around, which is good. I like that. A lot of people, this is like a little caster rant here. A lot of people would see that as like not a good thing, but it's very important for any workplace to have that sort of longevity where you can feel like you're going to be a part of something for years to come, if you want to be, of course.
Right.
It's not always a good thing to just sort of chop and change the talent, and generally it means the product's bad if someone comes in for a year or two and then bug us off after a year or two. So I think it's been really good to have a lot of the same faces around, and we've had some new faces as well over the last I'll say 12 to 24 months. So that's been good too.
Yeah, I mean,
card drop here for Beer Ram.
I think. Well,
Love it.
Good old Canaxi. Oh, Spears. He should be very dead. What gun is that? It's the revolver. I was like, I don't know that gun sound, and that's why nobody ever shoots this thing in PUBG. Oh, man. Burram's really just putting Ghibli out of here, dude.
There's probably not much for Ghibli to game out of this after losing that drop, so I think they're actually probably just happy to send Ada on his way.
Yeah. I do want to real quick touch on like the caster stuff, because I think like personally, I don't know. I've like growing up, like I had sports casters that were just there, for like the whole entirety of my, my youth into my adulthood. And I personally appreciated that because like just their breadth of knowledge and their experience and all that stuff, like I thought was just so valuable to a broadcast. So personally, I like that a lot of our casters have stuck around. And continue to, have at it.
Yeah, and it goes both ways as well. I think PUBG Corp's done an amazing job to create that environment where everyone's able to stick around and continue doing what they love. So it goes both ways. And obviously, you want a little bit of breath of fresh air every now and then too, and get some new faces in. I think it's been a blessing this year in particular, PCS 4 and 5 for APAC, to get Chunks and Saga involved. Because I think that they were guys that were grinding for a while, while maybe the usual older faces were in the spotlight for, 18, 19, 20, then it was good to get them in for 2021. I pushed hard to really expand that APAC region in terms of the casting, and I think they were two guys that deserved it above all else, at least for that region, because they obviously had done a lot of OCE work as well and a lot of APAC work. I know Saga's done a lot of work over in Thailand, so it was really good to get some new faces in. And then you got like guys like Copter as well in EU. So it's I think a really healthy blend, really healthy mix, and it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of up and coming talent, and let's see if Penta. Oh,
Ooh.
Fucking amazing! This is what I live for. This is the shit I live for. Is these freaking bolt headshots.
And he gets nothing for it.
I know. Yeah, there's no way he's getting that res, but still, I'm glad I caught that on camera. No, I'm with you. I mean, like, I've been trying to drag some people into, PUBG Esports here in Korea. If he hits that, I'm going to just lose my marbles. I had Tasteless with me and Achilleos and some guys, so, I'm happy. I know they're older, casters and, that kind of thing. They're not, PUBG is definitely not their first game, but it was fun to, like, get new people to be with and talk and bounce ideas off of, and I'm with you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. For sure, 100%. It's something that's definitely needed. Because in some ways, when you have those kind of broadcasts, they're kind of like the new viewers in a way that you're almost not holding their hand. Obviously, they're going to do their research and they're going to understand what's going on, but it does create that little environment where they may see something that they haven't seen before. And maybe there's some new viewers out there that hadn't seen it either. And then you can have that, their reaction is going to be a little bit more authentic in that case. But we'll bring it to the scrim. We'll bring it to the game. Enough about the casters. No one cares about the casters. Let's get real, paper. Come on.
Start game.
Casters. Put them on mute. Start game. Exactly.
I was really hoping he'd hit another one. What is Luke 12 doing? Wait a minute. What? Did he just push on that compound? Oh, he tried to flank out. Okay, got me. I caught him out there. I was so focused on Penta here that I lost track of it. This has been kind of an ongoing thing for Buriram. So at least in these scrims, like, fighting over their drop spots. And I want to get your opinion on, like, Buriram's, like, early game strategies, because...
Mate, don't ask me that, because I haven't seen them since PCS4.
Okay, well, what they used to do. How about we go back to, like, PGIS and PCS4?
Well, the thing is, right, in terms of, I think, any region, once you have your set drop locations, you're never really going to see this. You're never going to actually see this at all, right? Like, you're never going to see Buriram fighting against, whether it's TSM or, an APAC team. Like, you're just never going to see that happen, right? So Buriram's definitely a team that generally used to like to play edge. Maybe they've mixed that up nowadays. I don't know. Again, I haven't actually been able to see them domestically. I don't cast the domestic region of Thailand. So, and it's been since PCS4, which was a long while away. I imagine they obviously keep their playstyle relatively intact. Maybe they've tweaked it a little bit after the demise of their qualifiers for PCS5, but yeah, they're a team that's happy to take fights. Like, they will take the fights if they're going to be pressured early on at the start of PGC for certain drop locations, or just rotational positions pushing into early zones. Like, they will take the fights. They're not going to back off. They're not going to go and crash center. They'll happily sweep edge, especially under the format that's going to be coming in for PGC as well. So I think that suits them way more than the most chicken rule as well. But generally speaking, these kind of like early fights, I mean, this is also more so just TSM being a little bit weird over towards Hassie. I don't actually think Buriram did much to engage on them. I mean, Luke literally pushed over towards Gov Meow and just dies for nothing. And obviously Penta's just having some aimbot practice. What is it? The training practice with him basically in the scrim. Like, he's just having some shots. So there's not really much to read into it. Yeah. But yeah, they wouldn't shy away from it. They'd take the fight. TSM as well. If you remember PGC, I can't remember who it was. I don't want to say 4 a.m. Was it 4 a.m.? I can't remember.
Well, it was 4 a.m. and DA that were fighting over apps.
No, I'm talking about Miramar. I'm pretty certain it was Hassie.
Was it shoot to kill?
When they were shoot to kill, obviously. They weren't TSM at the time. I think it might have been 4 a.m. I'm almost convinced. Simply because I remember it with the crowd involved, and as we know...
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Whenever 4 a.m. did something, the crowd was involved. They had like that really big engagement. It was actually in the grand finals, and it was over at Hassie, and they committed to the fight. Both teams committed to it. Shoot to kill didn't necessarily walk away winners, but yeah, that's what TSM's, I guess, capable of. They're happy to be a little bit aggressive. I guess in some ways, they actually can be their downfall as well, but they're obviously wanting to take Hassie away from Buriram. This is nice positioning from Edie. Fortunately, just a little questionable there with that last reposition back.
Well, when they have that machine gun, it makes it a lot harder because, there's the bullet drum on that is rather large. So it's tough to just kind of push through there, even with that shotgun, which has been, talked about a lot. Of course, you see players now like Fuzzface who have a shotgun in most situations, which is pretty interesting. I think to see that there was that adaptation. I don't know with the changes they made, the minor changes to the shotguns, if that'll continue to be the case. But there was that time where people were like bringing shotguns all over the place, like to every part of the map. Oh, E36. I have severe concerns about E36.
Yeah.
Did they grab this? Wait a minute. We have the pickup mechanic, by the way, for this event. Did he grab? He grabbed Indigo and moved him, and then shot him. I was curious.
Just takes him out, execution style. Love to see it.
Oh boy. Well, here goes Summer. Oh God, that should have been Summer dead, but whoever that was from E36, Star-Lord, I think, didn't really fully capitalize on that. And this is okay. So they are able to win this, just barely. I thought E36 probably should have had that a second sooner, Xenox.
Yeah, it was actually interesting when I sort of was going over the sort of like list of teams. Summer was a name that actually stood out to me from MCG because he played for VC Gaming back at PGC. So you're gonna, I guess, have some players still. I mean, Asia's got what, 12 teams off the top of my head.
12. That's
yeah,
right.
there you go. There's going to be a lot of I think crossover. I also noticed a lot of player what's the word I'm looking for here? Blank. Yeah, I've gone completely blank. There's a lot of new players from Asia.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you personally why you think that is. Is it like the new crop is just like super young gunners that have just got rid of the older guys? Have players had other issues that, they just can't play anymore?
It's actually both. I think you're hitting some good points. So in Asia, the game's still pretty damn popular. It hasn't fallen off really, and so you're seeing a lot of the young players who've been, started playing the game when they were, 13, 14, and are able to now compete because they've gotten old enough. We don't have Donawa in the lobby, but Salute from Donawa is one of those players. This is the first year he's really been old enough to compete, and he's been absolutely nuts. He's really, really good. So you're seeing a lot of young players that are starting to pick up. In Korea, you do have some turnover because of the military stuff, right? Like you have players that have to go to military, and there have been some players who just straight up went back to streaming or found another opportunity that was just frankly a better fit for them. So there's been some of that. China's just so deep that I think there's actually 12 teams in China that are good enough to be at this event, but you can only have so many. So
yeah,
it's hard to say with that.
Yeah, and obviously it's also a very difficult region because you've basically got the two best, I guess I'll say, sub-regions, right, in Korea and China competing in Asia, right? And then obviously you've got your other regions as well. I don't know. I should probably just say China's Taipei. Is that probably the wise thing?
Yeah.
Probably the wise thing to say. Obviously, you got some Japanese players as well. So I think those obviously, I guess, the lesser. I don't like saying that, but compared to China and Korea, they're the big dogs, right? They're the top dogs of Asia. So it's always fascinating to see, I guess, the teams that make it their way out of Asia and into these international events, because it's like you're almost like the best of the best, right? And now you're going up against the rest. I think it's just always quite fascinating. And I think generally in the past, when we think of previous PGIS events or PGC 2019, there's always that strong emphasis on those Asian teams to do really, really well. Generally, you might have, say, one team from NA, maybe two teams from EU, no teams from APAC are generally considered likely, right? So it's you got maybe 3 teams from the rest of the world and then 5 teams from Asia. There's your top 8 in terms of how we think it's going to sort of play out. But yeah, big crossover, a big turnover. That's the word I was looking for, Paper. Big turnover.
There it is.
Of players. There you go. It comes to my head. Yeah, so I think that's going to be very fun to sort of see that. Obviously, not everyone gets to watch every single region. That's the beauty of these kind of international events, is you do get the look in to the top teams from said regions, and that's what makes it always so fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. That's why these events are so special, and why everybody's so keen to kick these off. And I mean the build up to PGIS was so fun, and everybody was just so excited to have a real international event with most of the players that could make it on LAN, and some of the teams had to play from China and stuff, but for the China ping isn't that big of a difference. Again, I talked about it, Jordan, earlier, but nobody's really complaining from either region about the ping diff.
Mate, you've also got, you know, like the APAC region as a whole is used to playing generally on relatively high ping across the board. So you got one region there that's pretty much used to it. North America's best teams basically have an Aussie on the team anyway. So I don't think there's much complaining going around there. This is a nice little circle, by the way. I love Death Valley Circle south of Monty.
Yeah.
It did go up north though, away from it. AAP would have been in a good spot towards that little compound on the top of that big ridge looking into Death Valley. So this is going to be a fun sort of middle section. Like I'm talking phase 4, phase 5. It's going to really kick off here.
This will be I love these ridgeline battles on these hills out to the south of Monte Nuevo. I think there's a lot of fun stuff to work with, and you know, there's a lot of opportunity to come up and up underneath the teams that have taken the tops of the hills. You know, it's not easy, but it's not as difficult as a lot of the other parts of the map and stuff like that. But you know, going back to like just the regions in general, I mean, I think with like the Sonics showing up big, and I think now it's not. I think for me, I think there's just as many teams in NA and EU who have caught up to the
Really?
China, Korea, Asia region. I think it's going to be pretty even. Like in the top 8, I think there's going to be like 2 or 3 Asia teams, 2 or 3 NA teams, 2 or 3 EU teams, and then maybe
how many APAC?
And maybe somebody sniggles their way in there. I think the X Factor
always
flood.
one.
The X Factor flood might bring Fury in there.
Oh, Star-Lord.
No.
Oh, no.
This is a guy I wish would go back to bolting, but he won't. Makes me sad. Makes me very sad, Xenox. Is there now Ronan? Okay, I want to get your opinion on this. Ronan has been from time to time whipping that bolt out.
Oh no, that's going to be surely 100% bolty rate for him. The bolty man. He's very happy with the recent changes a while back, and he was using it very extensively in PCS 5. Like I'm pretty certain. I mean, I don't have like a pick rate, but it would have to be like 90% plus pick rate of the bolty. So you'll be expecting him to whip that out. There's going to probably be more players than we realize that are very proficient with the bolty and are going to obviously start to bring that back out. But I sort of going to sort of what you said with Star-Lord, right? Like some players just aren't going to switch back, I think maybe out of habit in some ways as well. The DMRs are obviously still incredibly strong, so I think it'll just be that sort of player preference at this point will be a massive factor in it.
I can dream that we get back to the bolts it being more common, and I think PUBG's doing a good job trying to bring them into line without making it crazy where if you hit somebody in the chest with a bolt they basically die. Like that's not at all the case. So yeah, there is Uren. He's the other one to watch out for, of course, from Kaishin. He is like Ronan, like 90% of the time he's gonna have a bolt in his hands. And he's an absolute god with it. I think he's the best bolter in the world. Look at where this shifted, though, Xenox. Look at where the circle went.
Yeah,
Right
back down south. I thought it was going to go away from it and continue basically onto... I thought it's actually going to stay into Team Liquid's compound for the rest of the game, but apparently not. Good luck for TL getting out of that position. AAP's, though, in an absolutely great spot here. You can pretty much visualize their position by Mad Dog's little angle there, looking down. The high ground that they actually have here is very immense, and obviously, as you can see in the minimap, no teams are going to come in from behind them, right? They don't even have to worry about that. I'm assuming that's Heroic down there that they're looking at. I don't think Heroic's going to be able to make their way up this mountain, so they basically just have to stay at that little building and then hold out for Hope and maybe late game. But yeah, like you can even see towards like Algen bots. Like, no one can even wrap in behind them, and no one's going to be able to wrap in from the right-hand side. So that side of this whole field there that Algenbots is watching is basically the only avenue, plus obviously directly in front of them. And that's it. So they don't have a whole lot to watch here, and they can obviously then push forward into the coming, phase 5, phase 6 circles. They could actually go... I was going to say back-to-back. I forgot they didn't actually win the last scrim.
They're close. And the other thing is they can keep their vehicles healthy. And that's a big part of Miramar is if you need to make those extreme rotations, it's a lot harder on this map compared to some because of the long sight lines that are offered. Yeah. 17 has to make a run. Wait, let's watch this. Whee! I'm the worst observer ever. Okay, there we go. This is so MTech is a Korean team that, if people aren't aware, is like a oof, that grenade hurt. Is a like a tier, like a mid-tier Korean team, like in terms of the pro teams. Just barely didn't qualify for this event, so they're pretty strong. Ooh, Suju. Oh, almost. Well, MTech is gonna wipe them out. But MTech, this is a new look for MTech though. They've got some new players here. If people aren't sure, I just wanted to give them a little bit of history. Generally a pretty cautious team, but it looks like their MO is changing with the new rosters that they've been picking up. So curious about that.
Where have I heard Jeff Locker before? Where
T1.
have I seen that?
T1.
Ah, right. There you go. That's a name that rings a bell.
You've got a lot of the old T1 guys. I mean, Jeff Locke, Star-Lord, Adder.
Adder's running around as well, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of those guys are still here. It's just been there's been a lot of like roster shuffling in Korea. Teams are kind of trying to like find the right combination because nobody's really been able to kind of displace Gen G as like the team.
Yeah, and that's obviously, I guess, for that particular region, you're always going to be looking at who's the best, how can we be better than the best, and I guess Gen G is a pretty difficult roster to overtake.
They're still good. Gen G is still really, really good.
Well, they had from what I can see, good old Liquipedia helping out here, they didn't have the best PCS 5.
No.
Not sure exactly what happened there. Started okay in week 1 and then basically fell off a cliff onwards after that.
Yeah, they didn't look... I don't know. It didn't look like they were really... What is Purdy doing? Purdy do a little dance out in the open, knowing he's just dead. They just didn't... I don't know how to put it. They didn't look clean. They weren't playing together. They were very spread out, trying to like kind of just take as much like space as they could, and that just doesn't fly in the chicken dinner format. I should say that doesn't fly because you have to have like 4 players at the end game, right? Like to basically get anything done.
Me and Jordan always love the phrase mutual destruction when teams phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. If they're taking these fights, one team gets eliminated, the other team's down to like 1 or 2 players. Under the most chicken format, that team may as well have just died as well, right? They're not going to be able to win. They might be able to get a few kills, and that's about it. Obviously, under sort of a super rule set, they can get some points. They can get placement points. They can get kills. There's a bit more of a reason for 2 players to be able to persevere, live on, get their team something, so that mutual destruction is not quite as... well, I guess destructive, but under most chicken roll, it's always generally better to avoid fights early on rather than take them. Now, AAP actually getting somewhat aggressed here, despite obviously being the team that does need to move forward. They obviously don't have to worry about teams third-partying them. They can just keep all of their attention on this fight directly, but you've lost Bots, Carbs is knocked down, Mad Dog, for whatever reason, they're obviously keeping it on Game Home, making sure that they haven't spotted him or can't find him. I don't know what team this is in front of them,
NIF.
by the way. NIF. I see a spec account that doesn't even have a name.
Yeah, they're a tier 2 Korean squad. They're just
Right.
They've never even played in PWS, so they're they're fill-ins for today.
Yeah, that's probably not a good look then for AAP. You probably want to be beating the fill-ins. Oh my god.
Oh,
okay,
no.
so it seems like some bad sightlines here have been opened up on those positions. Sometimes that is the sort of downside, really, right? When you're on that very high ground where there's so many teams that are playing safe inside of buildings, and obviously they're scanning around and they're just trying to see whatever they can find, and you just kind of like, maybe you've just moved a little bit forward, and now you're just standing basically right in the direct line of a team, in this case Heroic, and I think another team as well. Also got a bit of a pot shot in there. So, yeah, a little bit unfortunate there for AAP. I thought they had a good position. I'll still stand by it. I think they had a good spot. Maybe could have just played a little bit better into this stand-in team. Maybe earlier, take their position, beat them, and then push forward. But Star-Lord here practicing his little rat location inside of the brush.
Yeah, just doing his best Bush impersonation. Yeah, I think I'm with you on AAP. Like, if they could take a good fight against NIF, then they've got a really good opportunity. to do really well in this game, and likewise then, so that kind of law of, you know, good positioning like transfers over to NIF here, and they can, if they can take this fight against Mad Dog, they have a pretty good opportunity. That was clean. That was clean here from our observer, or from our test account. But like, I don't know who this is. Yeah. That was all me, by the way. No.
Yeah.
Liquid's under pressure, and they've got like 3 different teams around them. Well, they're able to fend off E36 pretty well here, so that's actually now really good for Team Liquid. 4 up, edge of the circle. This is actually a really nice. They could go back to back here.
Yeah, I think right now the biggest ongoing presence is going to be this NIF team, obviously, pushing in from that position that we mentioned earlier. Right, if I said that AAP, we're going to have a good spot if they could beat them, as you said, then that means it sort of applies to NIF or James. That's a tough shot, by the way. It's a pretty fair distance for the M416. He actually landed a decent amount. Drops, tries to avoid a bit of fight. It's going to get flashed. No, it's a molly.
I thought it was a stun, too. You can shoot those out of the air, by the way. I'm just saying, you can shoot those out of the air. You should go for it. Get those highlights. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Team Liquid's about to die. NIF is Jesus. They look really good.
Hey, it's a position I said, man.
That's true. It's true. You were spot on. Yes. So, Under the old Damwon player, he might still be on Damwon, but he will shoot. He will shoot them out of the air on the regular.
Nice,
And
I like that.
It's saved him a couple times, and it's cost him a couple times, because instead of having his gun in a position to shoot somebody, he's like looking up in the air and he just gets blasted.
So now I know if I'm pushing on him, I'll just do an underarm flash and then push immediately, like immediately as soon as I throw it, knowing he's going to try and shoot it, and then I just shoot him.
You can
That's
also
the catch-22.
One thing you could do that I haven't seen in competitive play, but I've seen like streamers do, is you can throw mollies in the air and shoot them out of the air, like on top of people. So you can like make it hit kind of a spot you want it to, but that's
what's that like the disc shooting or whatever that they
trap
the Olympics.
Shooting. Yeah,
trap shooting. Yeah, there you go. Just throw them all in and shoot it. I like that. It's kind of a nice idea. Well, fun little finish here. Obviously, I think we've got 2 teams in a building. Then you got NIF holding this high ground, but they're not really like best circle position.
No, it's gonna be tough to come down that hill, right?
It's always a difficult one to sort of predict, right? Because you almost want to back in the team that's aggressive, the team that's going to be pushing onto a fight or pushing onto a compound. But pushing down a hill like that is very difficult. And that's probably why they're going to be hesitant. But this is Miramar, right? It's a hill that slopes down into another hill that's sloping down. So Game Home's kind of like what I would consider in the middle section of this really big hill. You've got NIF at the top. They need to slope down to Game Home. Then there's another one you can kind of see that slopes down as well even further, which is where you've got Heroic and the other team in blue, which I think just has a number as a name.
Is this ZX? I don't know who they are. It's not Kaishin. It's another Korean, rando squad, basically. This is, they're good teams, but they're not, they've never, again, made it to a PWS. They've never kind of had that taste of, professional play. They've always been amateur squads, let's put it that way. And they look really good today, though. Jeez, they are just absolutely hammering on Game Home right now. Look at this.
Well, this is the thing, though, right? This position, well, firstly, ZX and Hero down the bottom are kind of fighting each other. NIF win this game every time, and I'm so glad I made that call now. I feel like Color Caster. Look at that, man. I just pat myself on the back.
Stealing my job from me, man. Jeez, taking my jobs.
But the biggest thing is obviously, even if Heroic wasn't necessarily fighting ZX here, what are they going to be able to do to third-party NIF pushing onto Game Home? Due to the slope of this terrain, they don't have vision of it. They have vision now, obviously, as NIF pushed down, but because they had to fight with ZX, they're beaten up and down to just 2. And I think if they actually had at least even 3 players here, they win this, they might still actually be able to win this, right?
Yeah.
Because NIF have to push down to them.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, there's a pretty good opportunity here for Beamy and Paige.
Never mind. No, they don't.
Oh, if you're hitting shots like that. Let's go, baby. Look at this. Oh, that grenade is perfect. Oh no, not like this. Oh, my God. Dude, Xenox, that's a heartbreaker right there.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got that high ground, you can generally throw those nades down really easily to these kind of positions. Throwing it back the other way, almost impossible. Just so difficult to lob it up the certain angle that you actually need it to be lobbed up. No smokes here, I don't think at all. They used it against the X. It was a nice bolty shot. Goes for it again. Come on, baby.
Do it. Oh, if they have any more grenades, this is over.
I think this is over regardless.
Yeah, you might be right.
Hey, decent effort though, honestly. The flank there from, I'm just going to say squad. Squad? I don't know.
Probably.
That name's probably not meant for English. That was very, very aggressive to go for that flank without the other two being in a position to trade. But they get it done in the end. Hey, all about that position though, right? And it's all about moving across 20 kills.
Yeah.
That's a big game.
Jeez.
That's a big game.
Oh, you're right. It is all about, right, like, using the terrain to your advantage, using that position that you've been given to maximum effect, and that's what NIF did, man. They were able to hold off AAP, and that was the go. You know, that's their back cleared. They don't have anybody else to, like you were talking about, that could third party that position.
Bro, MTech had 10 kills, went out in 8th. Obviously under super rule set. That's actually a pretty decent game. What's that? 11 points.
You'll take those every time.
Yeah. 100%. And that's why I like that rule set so much more, right? Where you're going to be rewarded for getting those kills in the mid game, and obviously in some cases the early game, even if you do find yourself finishing in 8th. But yeah, 20 kills. That could have been you, Archangel Predator. That could have been you. That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to go tweet at Algin Bots now and razz him a little bit. Nah, I'm not going to do that. All right, well, that's actually going to be it. We're done. Xenox, I appreciate you coming in for
Beautiful.
A few games. You know, just get in, get out, man. Just that's it.
I basically just come in, predict the result, you know, in 10 minutes out from it happening. It is what it is, just coming into flex. But no, look, a lot of fun. I think next time, if there is a next time, it would be nice to go a little bit longer and really just sit back and watch some of the games. But I appreciate you having me on, Paper, and
sure,
looking forward to seeing more of the scrims.
Yeah, man. No, thank you for coming. I really, really appreciate it. And you know, we'll try and get this going again. I mean, you know, a lot of people have been asking like, where are the scrims? And it's like, well, I'm busy. I got a lot going on.
Yeah.
You know,
I know that feeling.
And we're trying to get other people in, but you know, there are, you know, restrictions on who can do what and when and all these other things. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but you know, there have been problems behind the scenes with some people giving away some information they shouldn't have, and that caused some issues as well. But I won't, again, get into the specifics. But regardless, you know, hopefully I can do some more scrims soon, and hopefully we, you know, could get you back on, my friend.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I know everyone very much appreciates all of the work that you do, Paper. You are the PUBG god himself, and it's always a pleasure to be in your presence.
Gross. Nobody wants to be in my presence. That's why I'm home alone. All right. Well, I'm going to shut the stream down. Thanks for joining me, Zen. And take care, chat. We'll see you guys around.